clever part. The
Hello, and welcome to the Kongversation. And welcome to our final Donkey Kong Bananza episode of 2025. Now, of course, Bananza will be a topic we'll be circling back to probably quite a bit in Season 14 of the Kongversation because it is inescapable right now. And as we'll discuss on this episode, it's not just being used as this first game of a new Donkey Kong era, but really it's now serving as the bridge to the next Donkey Kong game as well. But we have been on a journey with Bananza more than most people have here at DK Vine, and this season of the podcast has mostly been centered on the game as a result. It's been interesting having a different chatting partner for every single different world of Bananza, from our stalwart DK Vine staffers and inner circle of friends to those out in the wider world of DK, DKU, and Nintendo fandom. So to bring things full circle, I thought it would be fun to bring on a co-host for this episode that was part of this journey from the first steps taken. They were an early believer in our mad shrieking that EPD was working on Donkey Kong. They fashioned themselves as the DK detective and began observing Nintendo's actions with the knowledge of DK's impending resurgence, and were an early advocate for what we were talking about here, and then contributed their own discoveries and theories during the hype cycle after Bananza was officially announced. So please welcome to the show, Sxips.
Hey, what's up everyone? How you guys doing?
Hi, Sxips. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's great to be on here. Finally, I've listened to the Kongversation for years now. I think I first started to watch them when K. Rool was revealed back in Ultimate. So that was back in 2018.
Yeah, season 6. Yeah. And here we are, season 13. So I wanted to take this opportunity really quick to thank you because obviously, I was open-minded about Bananza from the first trailer. I was like, well, it's probably going to be a great game. It's a big Donkey Kong game. Let's go. But it was specifically your discovery of that Northern Hemisphere map that appeared on the fossils and the Bananium gem maps that really turbocharged my own anticipation for Bananza, because that's when I knew, right? That is when I knew that hedging any bets to stave off some disappointment aside, that this was a game that was going to be made for us, by us, in essence, by fans of the Donkey Kong series, for fans of the Donkey Kong series, for the Donkey Kong fanatic even. And I think the mood of the fandom really began to shift towards the positive as soon as we had that irrefutable proof that, oh, they are going to go deep with this.
Yeah, I think the funny thing about discovering the Hemisphere map is that was at a point where I felt like I was getting a bit too crazy with the theory crafting, because it was around the time when people, that Kremling source theory started to come out with the colors on the box art and different parts of the game.
Yeah. And
I was looking through the footage again, one more time, that day. It's maybe I'm looking at this too hard. And I decided to humor myself. And I paused the video, when, the fossil map comes out. Because my head is oh, maybe there'll be, an Easter egg or something on the map. Maybe something. And then, when I found out, I compared it to, especially how I saw, Funky's rental was on that map page. It's there's no way. It's I felt I found, a unseen life form that hit the earth, and I had to warn everyone that, oh my god, no one has found this out yet. I have to post you guys, Twitter, Blue Sky. I had to post this everywhere. Oh my god, this is what could this mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Bananza is a game that's extraordinarily measured in the fan service department. It builds to it. It doesn't really make it off-putting to the newbie at first. It slow walks you, kind of builds, and it never indulges too much in it unless it makes sense for the story. Like the Northern Hemisphere appears on the maps because I think we're all in agreement now that the implication is that Ingot Isle is located in the Northern Hemisphere.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And, you begin unearthing fossils then of various long-lost species and characters. The deeper into the underground world you go, you eventually reunite with Diddy and Dixie, and of course, the revelation that King K. Rool and the Kremlin crew are trapped within the Forbidden Layer and the planet core. And then everything that spirals out of that. And I mean, it was so much fun reading your theories and, all the fandom theories that sprung up in those months leading up to release. And I mean, some of them came true. Some of them, were kind of chasing dead ends, chasing ghosts. But all in all, like, there is an element of the Kremlin source in the plot. There is all of this mythology for the last 40 plus years of the Donkey Kong series that has paid off in some form or fashion in Bonanza. And I think that the DLC is where it really brings it home, where it binds it together with a nice little bow on top. Because I discussed with Miles from Off of Copbox on our DK Island episode that I feel that the DLC is a coda to the game that really ties everything back to Donkey Kong Island. And from there, the game can get a bit extra with that full history of the franchise. It firmly roots it in what came before while still moving towards the future with swagger, really. And, since I've beaten the post game, I have been dramatically expanding and really just living in Bonanza and my playtime with Bonanza with the Emerald Rush mode, which is the roguelike DLC expansion. It's roguelike, apparently. That's what it is. I just nod my head. It's roguelike, Sxips, and it upends Bonanza's worlds into these frantic timed dashes to collect emerald ore for Void Kong. So on this episode of the Kongversation, we will discuss Emerald Rush, and not just how it turns Bonanza from a brilliant standalone 3D adventure into this ongoing, persistent event in the world of the DKU, but how that event will also help carry the DK brand towards the next phase of this series relaunch through 2026 and towards both the next game and the Donkey Kong movie. So, yeah, we're gonna be wrapping it up, but it never really ends, does it?
Yeah, I will say that definitely with the Donkey Kong Island expansion, it really set in stone that everything is in canon, in a sense where there's nothing that's being left forgotten. In the Return to Tropical Freeze, they were scared to reference a lot of stuff from Rare. They would cherry pick certain characters and stuff, but it really feels like everything post Rare is all unified into one thing because of Bonanza. That's how I feel though.
It's harmony. I mean, that's really the ethos of Bonanza's plot, is being at harmony with nature and each other. And in essence, now the Donkey Kong series is in harmony with itself at long last. And it has been such a long time. And it, ultimately none of this shit matters, right? This is dumb. This is all just
hobby.
Yeah.
The Donkey Kong lore shouldn't matter. The famous Kotaku articles. Why you should listen to them? They clearly know what's up.
No, I just mean in the grand perspective of things. This is a hobby that helps keep us all sane in relatively dark times. But what I'm saying though is it can matter to you because it does bring us together, and there is a joy to be found therein. So I mean, 2025 sucked, but at the very least, things haven't been this great for the Donkey Kong fandom in a long, long time. So, we'll take our victories where we can get them. But I want to thank, once again, Kongversation listeners and DK Vine patrons in particular. I don't need to really explain why this has been the best year for the podcast as far as listening numbers, as far as audience growth. I mean, this has been kind of staggering. I just got the numbers this morning and I'm kind of slack-jawed by it all. And I would like to say it's because of our own talent and charisma and charm. But the truth is, it's because there's a Game of the Year contender that we talked about for most of the year. And you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. It's been a long time coming to get here, and I want to thank everyone who went on this journey with us and who have supported the Kongversation and DK Vine through that 11-year drought. And of course, we live stream these episodes for our $5 and up patrons, so I want to give a shout out to Traveler of the Stars, Chocolate Milk Drinker, Just Andre, the Snake Fighter 64, and Claire S'mores who have joined us today. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. If you would like to listen to every episode of the Kongversation live as we record it, or if you would just like to support DK Vine and, I don't know, get a DK Vine holiday card in the mail, then think about becoming a DK Vine patron at dkvine.com/Patreon or patreon.com/DKVine. And, you know, I don't think we're going to necessarily match the euphoria that came about with Bananza and everything that unfolded throughout that hype cycle and post-release of the game. But I don't think we are going to let up on the energy either. I think as far as the momentum for the series goes, we are in for several good years ahead of us. And it's going to be really fun covering it now that, no pun intended, the monkey is off our back. No, the monkey is on our back. And sometimes there's a 13-year-old human girl as well. And we are finally back in the hallowed ground that is being a prestigious Nintendo franchise that is... I say we as if we had anything to do with it. I just mean fans. We are enjoying a Nintendo series that is now being treated like a top-tier Nintendo series again. And all of the promises that come from that, including reliable, steady releases of games in that series, and all sorts of acknowledgments and accoutrements that come with it. Like, hey, a Nintendo Today theme with specialized animations for every day. Oh joy, what fun that has been. Maybe we'll have to do a mini about that if there's time this year. Whew!
I just imagine like someone who hasn't beaten the game yet, they looked at their Nintendo Today app, they got the Donkey Kong theme, they look at the 15 saying, oh, I haven't beaten Bonanza yet, I'm at the layer, Forbidden Layer. I wonder who's the character of the day.
To be fair, you know, that could have been, considering like Lord Frederick has also, you know, shown up, it could be, you know, just a callback. It could be related to Smash Ultimate. You never know.
It doesn't mean anything, guys.
It doesn't mean anything. You know, I don't think King K. Rool's coming back. I don't think, you know, I think that was just a one-off. I think they retired him.
Yeah, it was just a big send-off. Like, the theatrical, they wanted to make sure he died one of the best villains. They're not going to bring him back. Like, why would they do that?
Look, I've only been following Bonanza news this week and this week only. So, as we all know, Ghastly King is the main villain of Donkey Kong Bananza.
Yes. I knew it was Void. I knew Ghastly King was Void Kong in disguise. Look how similar they look with the nails. I mean, come on, it was obvious.
Yeah. They're, you know, Ghastly King is like this Kong tree hybrid. Void Kong wanted the root. It all somehow ties up. I don't know how, but yeah. All right, let's get into it because I am still exhausted. This is the episode, Sxips. This is the episode where the Kongversations season 13 officially hits the 1 week mark as far as runtime. So 168 hours plus.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But so, like, if you started listening to this on a Friday evening, you're like, I'm off work, I'm on a marathon season 13 of The Kongversation. Well, you better be off the entire next week because you're not going to be getting it done in a weekend.
I did watch all of the 7-hour podcast. Like I didn't of the ending of the Bonanza. I did not leave off that tab. I listened to that whole thing that whole day. I think that was the longest like conversation I think you guys ever did.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, it was, and I have no intention of matching that anytime soon. They're discussing itchy butts in the live stream chat, so this is good. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have time to get into the nuances of why they're discussing their butts being itchy. But speaking of butts and hair on butts and Donkey Kong, let's talk about Emerald Rush.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we already discussed the Donkey Kong Island centric portion of the DLC on the episode I did with Miles. Go listen to that, please. But this is the Emerald Rush half of that equation. And Emerald Rush is initiated because, really, I mean, the crux of the DLC is that Void Kong has come to Donkey Kong Island, or maybe has come back to Donkey Kong Island. I assume he's a native to Donkey Kong Island, but it's never really, clarified. But the pay dirt pile driver has crashed on the shores of DK Island off the Congo beach. And so Donkey Kong and Pauline, at the behest of the Mama Elevator, they go see what Void Kong is up to. And Void is situated on the shattered dirt remnants of the pile driver, and he's built this ramshackle, dilapidated new HQ for Void Company as he tries to rebuild his fortune after the defeat at the end of Bonanza's main story. And, I was wondering, I don't know if you were wondering at any point, Sxips, after the K. Rool reveal and after K. Rool punched Void into the horizon, if Void was dead. I figured he wouldn't be because that's not Nintendo's style to just, blatantly murder characters. But, his fate was kind of left up in the air until the post game. So I can't say like it's a surprise that Void gets such a big platform, but I'm glad he did at the same time because K. Rool did steal his thunder, and I mean, for good reason, reestablished K. Rool as, Donkey Kong's main antagonist. But I do like that Void gets a lot of time to shine in Emerald Rush.
Well, I feel like in the base game before K. Rool shows up, I feel like Void got a lot of spotlight already. But it's actually good that they didn't just like fully discard him after K. Rool's big revival like that, because it would have been such a waste like that just to like kill him off after, because he's actually really good. I think he's probably my second favorite DK villain now. I
enjoy how Emerald Rush really clarifies that he is a villain. He hasn't made that kind of heel to face turn like Poppy or Grumpy have, but he is kind of pathetic. He's kind of a joke. Not to diminish any potential threat he poses, although they kind of do at the end of all of this. We'll get into that. But I like that he's kind of maybe the closest analog to Wario, as in Wario to Mario, that Donkey Kong now has.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to just mention that how Void is just like this perfect like Wario like to Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong has never had someone like that before, like ever.
Yeah, there's been attempts maybe at having like dark mirrors to Donkey Kong, but let's be honest, there was really no character development for the Jungle Beat Kongs, even though they're having their own mini renaissance this week, or at least Ninja is and Ghastly King is, but you could see like, well, Dread Kong kind of, but not really, because what is Dread Kong all about? We don't really know. With Void, it's greed. It's just compensation. It's just like pathetic, like small man syndrome. And
yeah, he definitely, like, the way he dresses, he over like shows off himself, because you see, like, he's the perfect like anti Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong is all buff and strong, and like he's a very simple man. He doesn't wear much clothes. He just wears a tie and like even the breeches. But Void is going on with all these fake gold pieces, like the fake teeth and all that. Like he's also very scrawny and weak. Like he's definitely hitting home that this is like the parallel Donkey Kong.
I mean, even the name Void implies the absence of. He lacks any substance. He is, in many ways, he is a great villain for today in the influencer culture, in the like shallow tech bro culture, just wannabe oligarch culture of all style over substance. And I mean, Void isn't as outright evil or detestable as K. Rool is. He's just lacking any convictions.
I just feel like he just wants a job. Like he just wants money. Like he's just trying to like get around these dying times, especially, and he just wants to, like, especially now with like making Void Co. as part of Donkey Kong Island. Like he just wants to, like, he needs workers, man. Like he's trying to live his life.
Yeah, but I think the ostentatious fur coat and the like golden grill on his teeth. I mean, it is just like it reminds me of all of these ridiculous people with like the jacked up automobiles, and like they want to feel bigger than they actually feel on the inside. And I'm like, we've seen like size doesn't matter when it comes to being a Kong. Like Diddy and Dixie have proven that time and time again. And Donkey Kong's own strength and stature, he's so like demure about it. He's not really all about that except when he needs to be, but he is a calm, caring figure. And so Void is just, he refuses to work with what he's been given. He longs to be thought of as this towering figure, either financially or just in importance. And all of his floppy desperation spools out of that. But and Traveler of the Stars says, I really like the implication that he renamed himself. And yeah, like, I think that it's Void is probably not his name. I mean, what kind of sick parents would be like, oh God, this baby sucks?
I feel like his name was originally Scrawny Kong, and then like he called himself Void after, because given like how pathetic he is, given like he's trying to make himself feel important than he actually is, considering with all like the stuff he's putting on. In the comments, Noggy Boy says, in a loading screen artwork, it shows that Void Kong had gold teeth even pre-company founding. I mean, you start with that. You can't afford the full works right away. You start with a bit of flair and you build around it. So, I mean, I can see that. Chocolate Milk Drinker says, Pimpy Kong. Hey, he is dressed like a Halloween pimp. Like, the kind of pimp costume you'll get at Spirit Halloween for $39.99 in a little pouch. But let's talk about initiating Emerald Rush and exactly what Emerald Rush is within the context of Donkey Kong Bananza. So DK and Pauline approach Void, and I'm going to read some dialogue here. Bear with me. Or I guess in this case, monkey with me. Void says, just my luck. I find a fortune's worth of green, shiny, profitable emerald ore, but I don't have a single peon left to do the heavy lifting for me. I'm not going to lie, I originally read that as a single peon left, because that's the way my brain is wired. And then Void, who is turning around when you first approach. He's in his floating banana chair, but he is facing towards his shack. And then he says, And then he flips around and he notices that it's Donkey Kong and Pauline. And he says, you two, again? Grr.
And then he just laughs maniacally. Yeah, ha, ha, ha. Hang on. This is actually perfect timing. Pauline, who seems slow to cotton on, says, Void. And Void says, now that I'm back on top, everyone wants to work for me. Which sounds like a certain politician's social media style. Just that kind of like empty bravado. Now that I'm back on top, everyone wants to work for me. We're in a new golden age, or in this case, emerald age. Anyway, Void says, but I scout my own talent. So here's the deal.
He's I don't understand why Donkey Kong is so like willing to like help Void after all the trouble he's put him through like that. It's especially since so after they caused him so much trouble, it's like, okay, well now would you like the job? And Donkey Kong's like, yeah, sure. And like he starts and they initiate the Emerald Rush.
Well, yeah. So Void says he kind of lies through his golden teeth, and he says, after making some strategic cuts, Voidco is once again the mightiest mining organization on the surface, and says, I accept your application, DK. And I do like how they play this, because, I mean, this whole notion is preposterous, and it's the most like video gamey kind of setup. It's like, what about morals? What about ethics? What about everything we just went through? How are we justifying going to work for Void? So they do, through the dialogue branch, go through a lot of heavy lifting here. And I think it mostly works, where Donkey Kong can say, huh? Like, just completely bewildered at what this is happening. Like this almost like diluted sales pitch that Void is making. It's almost like Void is just talking to himself here, and he's not really even including Donkey Kong in the discussion. And so, yeah, Donkey Kong's like, huh? And Void is like, that settles it. You're hired. The opportunity is yours, and I can tell you're interested. Your job is simple. Collect as much emerald ore for me as you can. And it's like, well, what's emerald ore? And so Void explains that he discovered a raw, unripened form of banandium gold deep underground that glows green with powerful energy. And the composition is closer to that of emeralds than gold, which is nonsense that I absolutely adore. Like, this is the kind of balancing act that I think the DKU in particular has always excelled in, initially from Rare's influence and kind of that Greg Malesian way of justifying idiotic video game conceits, where it kind of goes part way towards explaining it, even if the explanation itself is a bunch of gobbledygook. The fact that it even makes the attempt to explain it is kind of what makes it work, and what makes it almost as a piece of meta humor. It's like explaining video game mechanics in the most like half-assed way. And I absolutely love that that's entirely what Emerald Rush is.
Well, it's interesting because you know how Voidco is so it emphasizes a lot of V and like motifs like within its design.
Yeah.
The reason why it's Emerald Rush is because V on the periodic table is vanadium, and that's where you get emerald gets its green from, vanadium.
Void then just keeps going, where he says that for his next business venture, he's collecting as much of the rare and powerful emerald ore as he can, and goes on to say that if he monopolizes the emerald resource, he can charge whatever he wants and make an obscene profit. And I do respect that Void is not going into AI like every other startup right now. Like, oh yeah, this bubble will never burst. Void is like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to corner the emerald banandium market, which, to be fair, nobody is even bothering with. So, I mean, maybe he is a bit of a business visionary here. And you keep talking with him, and you're like, why have you eschewed the Banandium root? That's what you were after this whole time. And Void, and I love this. This is probably my favorite part of the setup here. Void says, you're still hung up on that ridiculous Banandium root thing? Why would I ever go back for that gaudy trinket? Emerald ore is the new root. Better even. I'll leave that silly legend to a certain greedy, scheme-stealing crock who will not be mentioned further. Instead, I'll sell my emerald energy to wealthy buyers all over the world. And then I'll finally be rich beyond my wildest fantasies. And I just love that. As far as Void is concerned, the Banandium root is just a myth. It's just the story. When what he thought was the Banandium root just turned out to be K. Rool's gut, Void just stopped believing in it. It reminds me of that meme of the guy with the pickaxe digging through the ground, and he gives up right before he gets to the room of diamonds. And that's what Void is. He was so close, but because he only got the Forbidden Lair, he just doesn't realize that, no, the root was real. It was right there. He just had a little bit of further to go, man. What do you... Okay, fine. Whatever. Emerald, sure.
I mean, if I got punched, by a giant crocodile, and got sent towards, a giant asteroid, I would have some self-reflection of, what to go after in life after that. Or
you would just tell yourself, oh, that was just a dead end. That was not worth chasing whatsoever. What I meant to do was this all along.
Yeah, this is my true profits, guys. It was all part of the plan. See, I intended to get punched and embarrass myself.
Yeah, which... I'm glad that Void doesn't have a broken jaw or anything. I mean, he bounced back remarkably well, considering that could have been fatal, that punch. Anyway, as Donkey Kong, you can goad Void a little bit here, and really, kind of try to, stick the knife in a little bit, where you can say, staff shortage, eh? And Void will then open up a little bit and say, don't remind me of those treacherous, underperforming ingrates, specifically referring to Poppy and Grumpy. You're my staff now, DK, and Voidco is depending on you. And here's where Pauline justifies what's about to happen, where she says, ugh, he's so pushy. But hunting for emeralds together, you and me, that would be so much fun. What do you think? And I just love that. I think from Pauline's perspective, she just wants that dopamine hit one more time of going on an adventure with Donkey Kong. They've gone through the main story. They've gone through getting Pauline home. And then they've gone through the post-game story of having inspiration for Pauline's new song. And so Pauline's like, I want one more adventure. Let's go get emeralds for Void. It's not great, but it will be fun. And so it is again, it is kind of a very flimsy premise, but they do a good job, especially with the kind of second or third ending we get from all of this that I think sells it ultimately.
Yeah, I think it really goes to show how much Donkey Kong's very adventurous personality has rubbed off on Pauline throughout the whole adventure, because before that she was very nervous and all that, judging by how the Bananza forms from before she starts singing, she's very nervous about herself, she's doubting herself, but once they go to that whole adventure, Pauline is just this completely new confident person.
Yeah, and she's a bit of an adrenaline junkie now, where as before she was unsure, and she did have that vindictive side where she would just scream out for Donkey Kong to finish the job whenever he would be beating up one of the Voidco baddies. But now she's seeking it out. She's kind of becoming this surrogate Kong, where she wants that thrill, that kind of excitement that danger brings, and you could actually dress her a bit like a Kong here, where she gets the kind of Voidco regalia, where she dresses like Void Kong. But I really do like the setup here. As much as I'm saying, like, it's dumb in that perfect way where it's fun dumb as opposed to intelligence insulting stupidity. And that's really the realm where the DKU resides in. So yeah, Courtney has joined us in a live stream. Hi, Courtney. And she says, girls just want to have fun. And yeah, Traveler brings up the picture that Void has in his shack. Let's talk a little bit about the shack and all the little Easter eggs that you see in the new Voidco headquarters. So a lot of it is based around Emerald Rush. It's all of these like notes Void has taken, but there's also like diagrams for the walkie-talkie that he gives to one of the so-called squawks. There's I guess the mock-up that Grumpy made for Muckety Muck, the boss of Feastlayer. There is a picture of Void, Grumpy, and Poppy in front of the original Void Co. headquarters in happier times. And yeah, he has held on to that. So maybe there is some sort of unacknowledged affection he still has for those two.
Yeah, he still hasn't gotten over it. It's kind of nice that there is like I like that kind of like detail where like there is like a softer side to this type of villain type character in a sense. He's not fully evil. It's just that he does have his soft moments. I mean,
he could be yearning for that connection, even if he will never be able to fully acknowledge it. Like, I'm well beyond the point of like needing my villains to be humanized in any way, because as I think the last several years has proven, some people are just repugnant and they are just broken on the inside. But I do think that in some way Void does yearn for when those two were on his team. Even if he doesn't really have any true affection for them, he liked the way they made him feel. And I like that also we get a glimpse of the original Voidco headquarters. It's just this little taste of something we will probably never see. And I absolutely like adore looking at all of these details. But there's a lot to be kind of taken from this as far as our understanding of how the Emerald Ore works and how Void kind of flips the switch a little bit and that kind of is able to make the Banandium gold temporarily revert to its emerald state. But some of that also comes from talking to the two Fractones who stand on either side of the new Voidco HQ. And these two Fractones are effectively the new Poppy and Grumpy in that they now work for Void. And you're like, what are these Fractones doing? Why are they mixed up with all of this? And you talk to them, and the one says, we feel like we've seen you before. What do you want? And then they say, after Donkey Kong asked, did Void bring you here? They'll say, yes. He brought us here from the Forbidden Lair. After he freed that crocodile from the hole in the Forbidden Lair, and that crocodile sent him flying up and away, two strangers came along, referring to Poppy and Grumpy. And then Donkey Kong says, and after that? And then the Fractone says, and after that, the two strangers rescued him. Then they yelled at him a lot, but then he escaped from them. He got into his broken machine, the one he calls his pay dirt pile driver. And Donkey Kong, growing impatient, says, and after that? The Fractone says, and after that, we decided that he is noisy, but also funny. We were so very interested. So we got into his pay dirt pile driver with him, and we all drifted to this place. Now we help him with his research. What? Like, I like how these two Forbidden Layer Fractones, who, if you'll remember, were the assholes of the Fractones. They were completely, like, cold and a little bit mean-spirited towards outsiders. But they were like, this little twerp is interesting. He amuses us. Let's completely abandon our lives and just go with them wherever. Because I guess if you're a Fractone and you're effectively immortal, as far as we understand, and you've lived for who knows how long, then, oh yeah, what's a century or so removed from our current situation? Let's just go on a trip for who knows how long to this completely foreign alien place that we've never been, and we'll assist this cackling little rat.
Yeah, like when you're a Fractone, it seems like you just live as a physical identity crisis, because like 1 second you could just be like a guard, and then like, hey, I'll work for this guy for the rest of my life. Why not? I have like pretty much an infinite life, so why not just like work, just do whatever.
I mean, to be fair, if I knew I was going to DK Island, I would have probably hop on the floating dirt pile that would take me there. But these Fractones didn't know that. They don't have the context for that.
Yeah.
Fizztap has joined us and says, I feel like Pauline is a woman of industry. It makes sense that she'd feel the fire to climb the corporate ladder of Voidco. Well, it's interesting because Pauline is not even really hired by Voidco. She's more of a hanger-on to Donkey Kong than anything else, like an assistant.
Yeah, they never really explain that. Like, it's just Donkey Kong working, but they don't mention, like, hey, what does Pauline do? Is she just, like, is she getting paid in some way, too, for helping DK? I mean, she's the one that activates the Bananza forms. How is he supposed to get more emeralds if he can't, like, activate the Bananza forms? Is that Pauline?
Well, I mean, I think that she is included in parentheticals on the employee badge, but, yeah, I don't think... like, really, like, she's being acknowledged by Void as much, and Pauline is just doing it to spend time with Donkey Kong, to go on these bonus adventures with him, and I think that's all she gets out of it, and she's perfectly fine with that. And, I mean, we'll talk about it, but all they're really getting out of it is Banandium chips, and all they're doing with those at this point is just giving them the squawks, so... I mean, they're just doing it to really geek out over some statues, which, I mean, to be fair, yeah, I completely understand that. So, I just got done talking with Matt the other week about how I can't afford or have room for those first 4 figure statues of all the various Banjo-Kazooie and Conker characters. But, you know, if I just had this yielding source of income that I could spin up, you know, on demand, and also had a huge island with which to display them all, well then sure, I definitely pursue them all. The other Fractone, you talk to them and they explain a little bit more about the Emerald Ore. And what the Emerald Ore is, or how it comes about, really, they say, when the Banandium root grows, there is a moment when it changes to a green color, like when a tree buds. That is its emerald state, and where emerald ore comes from. This was news to us, too. And Donkey Kong asks, how do you get it? And the Fractone says, the funny, noisy one over there created a special device. This device collects gold when it's in an emerald state. But if you put his device on your body, it will temporarily block some of your powers. We won't be using it. No, thank you. So, yeah, the justification is this helmet that you wear, or Donkey Kong wears. You don't wear, Donkey Kong wears it. You are controlling Donkey Kong, though. During Emerald Rush, it will kind of force the Banandium gold on Donkey Kong Island or in the sub-layers where Emerald Rush takes place, it will force it back into this emerald state for a limited time, for a brief window. However, that will also strip Donkey Kong of his skills, and I don't know, I'm like, will this also, like, render Donkey Kong sterile? Like, will his sperm all die? Like, what other effects is this having on Donkey Kong? 'Cause this sounds like high energy coursing through Donkey Kong's body, and I'm worried about what it'll do to my dude here in, like, 10, 15, 20 years.
I always thought of like the emerald stuff being like a lasting effect after K. Rool like was in the root for so long, because K. Rool is also green, but he also has on his cape, he does have like an emerald type gem of some sort. So it could be like the lasting long effects after him being sitting down there for so long, you know?
Maybe, but you've also got to justify it, because as soon as Donkey Kong's not wearing the helmet, everything's gold again. So, you know, there is still, like, Banandium gold. That's still its natural state when it's not in that brief moment of emerald that they just explained. So I think that, I mean, maybe, who knows, maybe K. Rool's entanglement with the Banandium root did open the emerald state up to be observable for Void, and then he was able to chase that and exploit it and revert it temporarily to that. But yeah, like, I think that this is, again, all bullshit. It's all dumb logic to explain this new mode, but I appreciate that they do explain it. It's not just, here, do this, here's this bonus content, who cares, the story's over. Give us money, play your video game, you nerd.
Yeah.
Courtney says, the root could be trying to rapidly regrow now that it's free of the king's influence. Hence an extreme amount of unripe new ore appear. And I think that is actually plausible, considering when you go to Donkey Kong Island, Cranky's like, all this Banandium, like, gold is now growing here. It wasn't growing here before, so it's like reaching the surface. It's extending into areas it wasn't before. And so, yeah, I think it's, I mean, K. Rool is definitely responsible, because K. Rool was keeping the root in stasis and vice versa for so long that now that K. Rool is gone, the root is able to rapidly expand, and it's even expanding to where it's never been before. Oh, and Courtney also says, sorry, have you pointed out the dichotomy between K. Rool's obsession with overripe bananas and Void's obsession with underripe ore? That's great.
Oh, I didn't realize that, actually. That's actually a good point.
Yeah, that's poetic right there. So yeah, you then agree to Emerald Rush, and Void hands you the official Voidco helmet. It's a purple mining helmet with the Voidco symbol on it. And, I mean, officially you borrow it. This is never part of your wardrobe. Donkey Kong can't just put this on willy-nilly and wear it throughout normal gameplay. This is but a temporary accessory for DK. As Void explains, it's the official Voidco Emerald Collecting Helmet, as in, that's all you'll be able to collect while wearing it. There's one more minor side effect. You'll have to say bye-bye to those hard-earned banana skills of yours. But it's just temporary. I swear I'll make sure your skills are fully restored after your work is complete. Yeah, so let's talk about Emerald Rush. As far as the structure, the gameplay, let's talk about all the boring stuff that I don't normally talk about here on the conversation. So Emerald Rush is initially set on DK Islands, but you can unlock later Emerald Rush locations in this order: Canyon Layer, Hilltop Layer, Lagoon Layer, Freezer Layer, Feast Layer, Forest Layer, Resort Layer, Landfill Layer, Radiance Layer, and Tempest Layer. There are no Emerald Rushes in Ingot Isle Cave-In, The Divide, The Junction, Groove Layer, or Forbidden Layer. And Void Kong doesn't even list the Planet Core in the selection, because Void Kong doesn't know of the Planet Core. Void Kong didn't go that far. He's only been to Forbidden Lair and thought that was it. And I love that little attention that they don't even gray out Planet Core in the Emerald Rush list.
Yeah, sorry. Void is like, he's just like, he has no idea like what's down there. Like he has no idea of like the Kremlings or anything. I'm very curious like what would have happened if he did find out the Kremlings were down there. I'm curious if he would have tried hiring them like for Voidco or something like that.
Yeah, I think like Void is just completely shut down from the whole experience. And it's like ignorance is bliss in this case. He doesn't want to know if there's anything else. In his mind, Forbidden Lair is as deep as it goes. What he thought was the route was just K. Rool. Screw it. You know, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's a nice fairy tale to tell himself because, again, if he knew how close he actually was, and if he had just, like, waited in the wings and waited for K. Rool's defeat, then he could have maybe swooped in and just gotten the route himself after the fact. But it's just easier to say, well, you know, it was a fairy tale, whatever. There's no Planet Core.
Yeah, that was fun. Time to on the next venture to get rich.
Yeah. Courtney is chatting Traveler in the chat about there being no Emerald Rush in the Divide. Yeah, sorry. We could have talked about the Divide a little bit more here on the conversation, but there's no need on this episode. So, as I said, Emerald Rush is described as roguelike. And I know that's a term that's used to describe a whole genre and style of video games, but because I am purposely ignorant when it comes to anything outside of the DKU, I hear that term and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like the beloved X-Men character Rogue, because if you get too close to Emerald Rush, it will inevitably drain the life out of you. That's my explanation for what roguelike means, because yeah, Emerald Rush is a mode that can feel like the greatest thing in the world when you pull it off, or it can be a crushing, demoralizing defeat when things don't go your way. But a little bit of practice, a little bit of determination, a little bit of grit, and you will get the hang of it. I did not think Emerald Rush would be for me, Sxips. I thought that this was going to be where Bananza and I sort of parted ways. It was going to be this mode tacked on with the DLC that I wasn't going to enjoy as much because it's completely antithetical to my own playstyle and preferences. And it would be one of those things where, oh, that's a shame, you know, but all in all, I had a good time with Bananza. I just can't really get into this, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And I didn't expect it to win me over to the extent that it has.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience playing it for the first time. I think like the first 2 rounds I wasn't getting into it, but like once like the third try, I was like starting to like getting all the emeralds like feels like very powerful as you're building up perks and all that. Like it feels really satisfying to like keep pressuring on, like going across the island, like remembering like where specific bananium gems are. It really challenges you like how much you remember from each layer like throughout the game and all that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I spent a long ass time in every world of Bananza. So I think it really like came home for me this last week doing the 3rd monthly event in Landfill Lair. And of course, Landfill Lair, it's a bit of a pain to navigate through, right? But because I'd spent so long in Landfill Lair during my initial playthrough of Bananza in the main story, that I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly where to go. Oh yeah, I know this is over here. Oh, I gotta smash some crystal. Yeah, there's a big vein down here. I'll go right over to that. So it really does reward you for having that intimate knowledge of the game. But the way it's structured is, you know, you've got these rounds, right? And the rounds will grow the longer you play. I think what is it like the easiest difficulty is something like 5 or 6 rounds, and then the most difficult is 15 rounds. And you've got to go around getting emerald ore for Void, and he's got a quota for every round, and the quota will grow with each round. So, initially it's a very doable number. You don't have to collect that much, but then he will subtract that quota from your total. And then the next round you have even more. So you've got to be quick. You've got to multiply and find ways to expand your emerald intake as you go along. And that also entails collecting all of the items that have also been turned into an emerald state. And that includes Banandium chips that are now emerald Banandium chips. That includes the hollowed out husk of what were the fossils that you've collected, which are now emerald fossils. And going around getting all of that, you also have to do, or you can opt in to doing the Void goals. Void says, I'll assign you extra goals to achieve while you're on the job. Complete these tasks for me, and I'll throw in bonus rewards for you. And Void goals can be anything from defeating a wave of emerald enemies. For example, emerald crocoids or emerald buzzoids, relescoids, stompoids, etc. Or smashing an amount of a specific terrain type, going for a swim, riding a minecart, high-fiving a certain character, and so on. That will net you a base level of emeralds and emerald Banandium chips that can be multiplied as time goes on with the collection of certain emerald perks. And that is the key to Emerald Rush, because getting an active Banandium gem or emerald Banandium gem in Emerald Rush, or obtaining a fossil or clearing a void goal will give you a selection of 3 different emerald perks, and you can select one of them that will then be applied to your Emerald Rush session. And these are multipliers or boost that will be essential towards clearing Void's quotas in the later rounds. And if you break open, say, a Banandium gem bunch, like the ones that appear near the beginning of the layers, or one of the rarer fossil types, that will net you an even bigger amount of that perk in one go. So you could jump from, say, level 1 to level 3 or something thereabouts. And you unlock better emerald perks that are then put into play the more you play Emerald Rush. So when you first start out playing Emerald Rush, you will not have access to the real high-end perks that can really help with the later difficulties. And that includes such heavy hitters as Smelting Green, which, oh my god, what a lifesaver Smelting Green can be when you're up against the wall and you really, really need to get that nice cushion of emeralds to get you through the next several quotas. You get Smelting Green. All your emerald Banandium chips that you've collected are converted into straight emerald ore. And it's like, bam! I'm safe. I'm safe for the next several rounds, or maybe I'm just safe until the end of Emerald Rush. Maybe I've already cleared it thanks to this. Thank you, Smelting Green. But there are certain perks that multiply the emerald ore obtained from defeating certain enemies, be they naturally occurring in the world itself, or those emerald variants that are sent in by Void during his Void goal. And then you've got other perks like grooves. The grooves are a specific type of perk that can significantly multiply all emerald ore that appears from most gameplay by doing things like using the spin move, turf surfing, surf surfing, water skipping, whatever. If you select that, you apply it, and then you do a lot of that monotonous action that will then multiply all emeralds that will appear. So, for example, if you break open a crate or a barrel full of emerald, the more you've multiplied it, the more will spill out of that container then. and you can get obscene amounts of emerald in the later rounds the more you've both done those actions and applied more of the multiplier to it. That's something I learned with the So Strong It's Funny event, the second monthly event with the chunky and lanky statues.
Yeah, what I really like about this mode is that it definitely it really dates back to Donkey Kong's arcade era feel, where basically you're ranking up a score as high as you can. Like it feels very arcadey as you're progressing through like Emerald Rush, as you keep building up the perks and all that. Like it makes you feel like you need to reach that new high score and stuff like that.
Yeah, like for me, it's all about clearing it because I'm a Donkey Kong Country kid, right? I don't care about high score. That's all like it's showing, it's not growing. That's void nonsense, and I'm all about Donkey Kong nonsense to me. I just want to clear it. I just want to clear each round and have the little badge that shows I did it. But yeah, it is like very satisfying, isn't it? It's very just almost primal in that, that feels nice. And, you've also, of course, got other things to balance because skills can be obtained from those active Banandium gems, the ones that are glowing with power. And that will, like, not all Banandium gems that are these Emerald Banandium gems will be active in every round. There will only be a handful across the world at any given time. And then after a few rounds, they'll switch. But if you get one of the active Banandium gems that are glowing, you can then get one of your skills from the skill tree, and they'll be assigned depending on what icon is with the Banandium gem. But those skills can also be purchased yourself using Emerald Banandium gems from the skill tree screen, which is something I didn't realize at first. Again, it was the So Strong It's Funny event where I was like, wait, you can just buy them with the Banandium chips? Oh, good to know. So, for example, if you get Spin Groove, right, you've got to make sure that the spin move is activated, the like spinning Kong style spin move, and then you can just opt in using the Emerald Banandium chips and then really get to work on your multiplier in the early rounds before the quota becomes unfeasible. So you just muck about in the first couple rounds doing a lot of spinning or turf surfing or whatever action the game asks you to get. And that really goes a long way towards making the later rounds much easier.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of like thinking, like when you go back and replay a bunch of rounds, like say if you're like stuck on one, like you have to like route out like which bonanzas to go for, like which perks and all that.
Yeah.
Because like I know they cycle each like every 3 bananas, like every 3 rounds they cycle. So you have to like think of like what's the perfect setup like going into each like each rush, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, so like occasionally if it's all randomized, the perks that you get or the perks that show up. There are ways to like make sure you trigger some rarer perks or at least make that more of a possibility, but it is randomized. Now you can rotate out if you're like, I don't like any 3 of these perks that just popped up. I'm going to spend a certain amount of emerald ore right now to refresh the perks and try to get something better. However, the more you do that, the more expensive it'll get with each time. So you've got to be strategic there. So sometimes you just got to go with what the game hands you. And it's like, okay, well, it says like, it's the like flight groove where it's fluttering in the ostrich bonanza form. Okay, if I select that, I should probably go get the ostrich bonanza in some Banandium gem because I need to start building that ASAP, and that needs to be my strategy for this session. And the bonanza powers you will have in the easier rounds. Those like difficulty 1, 2, 3, you'll have all your bonanza abilities from the start. But in the later rounds, you will be deprived your bonanza powers and you'll have to obtain them from the Banandium gems. And that means that not all bonanza powers will be in like Bananza gems on the map in every round. So you have to see what Bananza powers are available right now. What should I focus on? For example, I like the Zebra Bananza in Emerald Rush because you move fast. And that can really help because making the most of your movements, being efficient, is also a big part of Emerald Rush. And especially when Void goals trigger on a completely opposite end of the map, or even on a different sublayer beneath you or above you, you've got to be quick. And they get around this because you do have a bit of fast travel. You can't use the little elevators, but Void provides you warp barrels. Yes, warp barrels are back. You are allotted a certain amount of warp barrels per round. Now, you're just gifted the warp barrels in the easier difficulties. In the harder difficulties, you will have 0 warp barrels to start, and you'll have to get them from the perks. And these warp barrels are barrel cannons, just basic barrel cannons that are painted purple for Void Company, but they operate like a DKC-3 warp barrel in that they can send you to a specific checkpoint or getaway on the map. You can also use them as just a standard barrel cannon if you want. I tend to not do that, but I know other people use that for efficiency. And it's a good strategy, in my opinion. I'm not the expert, but in my opinion, it is a good strategy to quickly build up your warp barrels as fast as you can, because they can make all the difference in the world, especially on the larger layers where you've got 3 or even 4 sub-layers to navigate. You'll want to have, at the very least, like 3 warp barrels in your inventory.
Yeah, also, like, a little cute thing about the warp barrel is, like, once you use the warp barrel, it does the little DK64 transition sound effect, which is, like, insane to me that they did that. It's like, wow, they are totally freaks on the dev team, like, just like us, like, making all these, like, small details. It's like, wow, like, it's just a lot. Like, it's all just great.
I've been doing this show for 13 years, Sxips, and I just wanted to let you know, I knew you'd be bringing up the transition sound effect, so I just sat back, and I knew that was what was going to be leaving your mouth at that moment, because I was just like, yep, now Sxips is going to talk about the transition noise from DK64. Yep, everything's going to plan. But awesome. Yeah, it's wild they included. Like, I do kind of wish it's a warp barrel, so I kind of wish it like harkened back to DKC3 a little bit, but I love that sound effect. And yeah, they are freaks. They are sickos of the highest magnitude. If you would have told me before we saw that Northern Hemisphere map in this game that, oh yeah, and then, you know, the DK64 transition noise will be included, like the exact sound effect is going to be included in the game, I'd be like, what are you talking about? There's no way that's going to be included. And now it's just like, oh yeah, it's of course it is. Boring.
Yeah, of course it's going to be there. Why wouldn't it be there? It's Donkey Kong. That's the area.
I said I'm not the expert. The expert has joined us in a live stream, everyone. Special Agent Ape is here. I was going to give Ape their due. Ape says, I think my biggest oof when watching other people do Emerald Rush is people will settle for a bad perk when they have plenty of emeralds to attempt refreshes with. I think it's all down to personal playstyle. You are a goddamn machine when it comes to this, and I can never hope to be as skilled as you are. So for me, I sometimes play the hand I'm dealt, and I try to make that work. And there can be a lot of joy and pleasure from that as well. I know people get stressed when it comes to Emerald Rush because they feel like they've got to do right by this round or nothing. Like, you can just try again. You know, there's no penalty. There's no slap on the wrist for having a bad run. And in fact, you will still get Bananium chips as a little reward. You'll still get points that will accrue towards unlocking stuff as you go, even if you have a bad run. So bad runs are good for the Constitution. They are good for your growth as a player for Emerald Rush. You are not going to be good at this right out of the gate. It's all about finding that balance of how good are you at Bananza as is? How much knowledge of this world do you have already? And then it's altering those skills for this specific mode. And in fact, this makes me a better Bananza player. Had I known some of the stuff I know now, thanks to Emerald Rush, I would have had a far easier time playing the main story. It really is one of the only like time attack modes in a DKU game where I feel like it really allows you to grow as a player, and not just a very specific type of player either. I'll get into it a little bit, what I mean, but the whole time you're going through Emerald Rush, Void is barking orders at you via a traveling squawks, a green parrot that is just off camera. You never see it during the actual Emerald Rush gameplay, but this is the explanation for how Void is able to communicate with Donkey Kong and Pauline. And this is a specific green parrot that has the purple Voidco walkie-talkie with a little screen with Void's face on it. And I call this guy Squawky Talkie. Sxips. I've come up with a fanon designation for this Void co-animal buddy. It's Void's own adopted animal buddy. It's the Screech to Void's K. Rool. And this guy will also appear in every layer that has an Emerald Rush in it. So they'll always be hanging out near the Warp Gong. So you can always initiate Emerald Rush near the Warp Gong in any layer that has an Emerald Rush. You don't have to do it from Donkey Kong Island. If you're in Canyon Layer or you're in Feast Layer and you're just like, I want to do Emerald Rush, let me go talk to Squawky Talkie over here by the Warp Gong. I love it.
It's such a missed opportunity that they didn't use the purple like Squawks for like this so-called Squawky Talkie. At first I just thought Squawks was just getting paid too working with Voidco. I thought he was on it too, but I like the idea now he has his own version of Squawks.
Yeah, because I mean, like we know Squawks is just hanging out in the cabana in Squawks' shack with the like Funky Kong bandana hanging in it. So I like to think, yeah, like clearly there's more than one green parrot, and it would be more on brand if Void would have grabbed one of the purple parrots, you know, Quawks or Squawk or whatever. But the thing is, they're up in the flock in the sky. Void can't reach it. Void's Pater Pile Driver can't take to the sky anymore, so he had to settle with what he could grab, and it was one of the green parrots.
Yeah, and you also brought up Screech. I think that would have been such a perfect inclusion because given how Screech's final level in DKC2 is this giant sprint, like rush at the end, it just would have been such a cool detail, but I can see why they didn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, we might still get a Screech statue. At this rate, I would not put it past them.
Oh, 100%.
So I mentioned rewards, and so no matter how you fare in an Emerald Rush, you will get points that will go towards unlocking different rewards, some wardrobe options for DK and Pauline, mostly Pauline, new disc of Emerald Rush music, unlocking, you know, more of the layers to play Emerald Rush in. Donkey Kong's clothing options include the Voidco Employee ID badge, the Voidco bow tie, which is like Void's bow tie, and Voidco breeches. And Pauline's clothing options include Voidco regalia, crystal regalia, and emerald regalia. The Voidco regalia is her basically in Void Kong cosplay, like human Void Kong, and then crystal and emerald regalias are just recolors of that. And all Voidco and regalia clothing will make rare emerald perks appear more frequently. So I always change into these clothes before I do an emerald rush so I can get that smelting green, that sweet, sweet smelting green. I'm sure Ape is tisking, tut-tutting me, because you don't need the smelting green, but damn, smelting green feels so good. I'm all about the smelting green. Pauline can also get recolors of some of her one-off outfits up until this point, like the Ingot Isle gold mining gear gets 2 more color variants. The Diva dress will also get 2 variants in gold and platinum. I don't put her in those. I think they look ugly, but, they're there if you want them.
Yeah, I had no idea there were variants of those too, because I don't think I've gotten to unlock the main Emerald Rush challenges, because I've been doing mostly the limited time events, so I still have to fill out my whole license with that to get everything.
I've gotten through all of the prizes except one. There's one, I think, disc that is out of reach because I haven't actually employed or deployed all of the perks in a round yet. Because I'm still going through in chronological order, trying to clear all the rounds from easiest to hardest in each layer. So I'm doing that. And then, of course, when there's a monthly event that pops up, I then stop and do that. And interestingly, the monthly events don't count as you actually having played that layer. They're kind of like not sharing any of the progress continuity with the normal Emerald Rushes, so they're kind of like removed bubble events. So even though I did play Emerald Rush in Landfill Layer, I have not actually done any normal Emerald Rush in Landfill Layer, so it's still saying I haven't actually played Landfill Layer yet, which is interesting and nice for me, who's somebody who is like, I'm going to play them in the order they're unlocked. And right now I'm almost done with Lagoon Layer. I've almost completely cleared it on hardest difficulty. And it's all just about getting better at it and formulating new strategies and most of all being adaptable. It's about thinking on the fly and sometimes playing a bad hand, but also knowing to try to pursue certain strategies that work for you and not being afraid to try something new either, in my opinion at least. And you do earn Voidco promotions as you go along. Donkey Kong's badge, although you can't actually see it on the actual texture dangling off Donkey Kong's neck, the screen will be amended with promotions every time Donkey Kong gets a new job title. And I don't want to spoil all the job titles because I think it's an amusing it's an amusing kind of thing to follow Donkey Kong's so-called position within Voidco, according to Void Kong. But yeah, it's fun to watch him go up the ranks of this bullshit job that he doesn't really acknowledge, but it's very important to Void that Donkey Kong is the senior banana director or whatever.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the limited time run events they have going here, because it's always nice to just pop in Bonanza again and just to play it. It just feels so satisfying just to move Donkey around in the game, especially with how Emerald Rush really complements the very freeform platforming and problem solving with Donkey Kong's moveset, to figure out situations within the story, and now you can apply them at a greater scale within Emerald Rush because you're trying to figure out all these paths and all these figuring out which bonanzas, which things do I go for, how do I maximize the emerald in this rush, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do know what you're saying. I mean, Bonanza feels so mechanically satisfying. It's such a smooth game, and it really all just comes together with Emerald Rush, where, yeah, just moving around as Donkey Kong is this immensely satisfying feeling. And then to really just use all of the abilities and all of the tricks of the trade you have picked up along in my case, over 200 hours. I think I'm at 235 hours on Bonanza so far. It really just makes it all sing. And this isn't the type of mode or game I would normally go for. Emerald Rush surprises me because I've explained my philosophies here on the conversation enough that I think people know I'm not a speedrunner. I'm not somebody who likes being hurried in a video game. No, I like to leisurely marinate in every single world, in every single aspect of a game's universe. And weirdly, kind of in a paradox, Bonanza prepared me for this because I did do that leisurely marinating. I did soak in so much of Bonanza that I feel like it somehow got me ready for this speedrun mode. And it's the most fun I've ever had in a so-called speedrun mode. Normally, I don't like these. Normally, like whenever a Donkey Kong game in particular will have one of these modes, I find them to be a bit of a chore. Donkey Kong Land 3 was the first one, and I was just like, really? This is how you're ending it? This is what I'm supposed to go out on? Ugh. And the Retro Studios time trial modes with Professor Chops, I always felt like they were so ludicrously difficult, where there was some sort of very precise way to get through them all, and unless you moved your finger a little bit to the left incorrectly during one run, you would not get that gold, not even speaking of the shiny gold medals you could get. And it was just like, I'm never going to do this. This is just beyond me. And I feel like Emerald Rush is not. It's not beyond anyone. It's really just slowly getting better. And, you can have that very satisfying V grade where you get that V rating for Void, but it's not necessary. You can just clear it with an A and it's not held against you. And so I really like that with enough patience, you can also mold Emerald Rush to fit your playstyle. But again, remain adaptable, learn new things, try new things. Don't be afraid of getting a little bit outside your comfort zone. And again, that's something the monthly events have taught me really well as the Idaho Cruise Ape, who is, Andrew has really, I think, shown me some shit, shown all of us some shit on how to get through Emerald Rush. And I don't always take his advice. I'm like, well, that works for you. I'm going to bash some Stompoids because I want to bash some Stompoids because they're a big foot with a monkey skull on it.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the recent event right now. I was playing it last night before this, and I didn't realize how effective the Stompoid perk is. Once I was stacking it up and I hit the first Stompoid, it's oh geez, that's a lot. That is an insane buff. But I don't know how to get the last two. I'm still trying to get the Ghastly Kong statue. Well, it's pretty hard.
Watch the Idaho Crew VOD they played through it last Tuesday night. Go to twitch.tv/DKvine, pull it up. I've said they're the expert, and they're in our chat right now, given words of wisdom. I'll read a few of them. If you're using a groove strategy, it's more important to get a groove on the board than to upgrade one because you need to be sure they're passively building. It's tempting to take another upgrade versus a level 1 perk, but your grooves won't build unless you own them. That is true. I did that last night in Lagoon Lair. And I made sure I built 3 different grooves simultaneously, and I only expanded one of them, but just passively building it, turf surfing along the ancient record, the duplicate ancient record you get from the Kong Elder. You just use that to turf surf and surf. My God, it just racks it up. And they also say once you have the ability to disable perks, you need to be doing that every gold clear because late game you just have too many and only a quarter of them are good. You can guarantee good perks if you handle it smartly. And they say skip to the end of the VOD. They did a perfect run at the end that was way better than our one at the start. And even the experts struggle from time to time. That's just Emerald Rush. But, let me just let Andrew explain. We're going to cut away to some expert Emerald Rush strategies right now.
Hello, everybody. It's Professor Ape here. I have my doctorate in Emerald Rush Studies, and I'm here with my lowly disciple, Dustin, who doesn't know anything about Emerald Rush.
Professor Ape.
Yes,
What?
Yes, disciple Dustin.
What can a lowly dunderhead such as myself do to raise my Emerald Rush score?
Well,
I'm incapable of doing it on my own. Can you give me any good tips?
well, I've got some tips for you, old lowly Dustin. I think you should spend your refreshes on guaranteed rare perks, which are the ones that come from the multi-banana bunches and the rare fossils. Basically, if you know where those are when you're rounding out your levels, you get those early on, and you can refresh on those to get guaranteed rare perks. The rare perks are the ones that boost your things by multiple levels at once. So, that's tip number one for old Dusty.
Right.
That's
Please bestow more information upon me. Drop those information loads all over.
Now, Dustin, how good are you at whistling?
I've whistled in my day.
Can you give us a good whistle? Okay, that was pretty good. But you should do that on your way while you're routing between goals, so that you can get fossils on your way to the goal.
I'm writing all of this down as we speak. I really am.
Are you?
Yeah.
I don't see a pen. He's lying. The other thing is, speaking of refreshes, for these events specifically, since there's not that many things in the pool, in the perk pool, you're kind of guaranteed to get one you want if you refresh enough times. So, and the emerald thresholds are real low. So, lowly Dustin should be using his little refreshes.
That's true. I'm gonna make sure to refresh every day.
Yeah, make sure you're nice, clean, showered, and refreshed. I don't know where this bit's going. The other thing that I'll say is, as far as getting a high score, so Dustin, you have 2 perks to pick from. Okay, so you have you can level up.
2 is the one after 1, right?
Yeah.
As a lowly disciple, I don't know these things.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you have a choice between 2 perks, right? So you're choosing. You have one already that's at 300%, and you can upgrade that to 600, or you can gain a new perk that also has a 300%. You would take the new perk because that's 300 over the 300 instead of adding 300. It's a multiplier.
Wow, it's just that easy, I guess.
It really is. Numbers and math and stuff. So it's tempting to upgrade it for the high level perk, but you actually just want an extra multiplier.
An extra multiplier. See, that's something I'm gonna remember when I'm playing Emerald Rush.
And I think that's all we've got for you today, kids.
Why, that's so easy, even a simple fool like myself could do it.
All right, back to old Hyle and his stupid podcast.
All right. Well, the reward you get beyond just all the new clothing options and disc and job promotions that Donkey Kong gets are Banandium chips, just regular Banandium chips. Void will give you the Banandium chips in exchange for the emerald ore, and these are then used for the true reward for the DLC, statues. So the first time you play Emerald Rush, Void will give you your chips, and Pauline will say, "Nice work." And then Squawks interrupts with a squawk squawk. And Pauline's like, "Huh?" And then the scene cuts to Squawk's shack, and Squawks will once again say, "Squawk squawk." And Pauline says, in her animal whisperer way, "Did you say chips?" should we give him some of our chips, DK? And DK initially is like, yeah, give 100. I don't know. And Squawks is very happy about those 100 banana chips. And then Squawks flies off, and it cuts to the ocean. You see a view of the Gangplank Galleon wreckage, and then Squawks comes back. Pauline says, hey, he's back. And it looks like he brought something with him. And he'll drop a statue on the beach. The first statue you get is a statue of Donkey Kong and Pauline. And this is the first of so many statues that you can pay Squawks to get. And according to the lore, these are mysterious sculptures that Squawks is finding on the seabed around the DK Isles. Interesting. Do you have any theories about this, Skips?
It's either Squawks himself has learned how to model, and he's just like making it seem like he's this mythical like modeler, is able to model all these DK characters, or I wouldn't know like what would be like the lore reasons for why these statues are being made.
Well,
just randomly.
Check this out. So they're all stamped with the banana symbol that is found on the Kong ruins around DK Island in Bananza. And in fact, if you pick them up, you'll even see on the bottom, there is just this like stamp of the symbol in the center lower bottom of each statue, including the event statues, even though they all have gold stands instead of the grayish stone stands, they still have those stamps on the bottom. And so I'm like, maybe these were carved from this ancient Kong society, kind of like a prophetic glimpse into the future they had, similar to the ruins in, say, Returns, where they seem to like prophesize Donkey Kong Arcade and Donkey Kong Jr. and things like that. Nearly every character in the game, from the most minor of drones to major characters, gets a statue in this DLC. And they're all placed by Squawks in set locations around the DK Isles. And they can be temporarily moved to your liking, although they will reset once you leave the game. And you can also have any so-called Squawks reset them in the middle as well. If you accidentally knock one over, if you send one flying and, you know, you're like, oh no, you can just say, hey, reset the statues, please. And a green parrot will do it. But I really like, you know, how thorough it is. You've got even the Kremlin crew members from this game get statues, and they're set on the Gangplank Galleon wreckage.
It's a lot. Like, if you told me, like, when the game was announced that you'd be able to, like, have a full statue of Army in the game, it's like, what are you talking about? Why would they do that? Like,
yeah, why would they do that?
Yeah, like, well, there's no need. It's like, also, it really scratches that itch that was kind of left with I'm bringing up Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, like, did not have any type of trophies whatsoever. They had spirits, and it's really cool to see like these 3D models of these rare characters like fully realized, like characters like even Kaboom, like Neki, Army, like they never really had like Smash like trophies or anything like that.
Yeah, and also I think this is even more tactilely satisfying than the Smash trophies or say the Tropical Freeze figurines, because you can pose these around Donkey Kong Island. You can pose these together. You can create little scenes. It really does like make you feel like that 8-year-old kid playing with toys on the living room floor. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to set this character next to this character. Ooh, how fun. And I mean, it's just complete nerdery, right? But oh my God, we are so starved for this kind of thing. And the fact that you can, especially with the event statues that reach beyond Bananza's confines and bring in characters from the entire series history. So now you can bring in, you know, DK64 Kongs or Jungle Beat Kongs or coming up tropical freeze characters and pose them with, Voidco or the Kremlin crew. It's great. I love this kind of stuff. And one of the things I really appreciated too is like learning some of these characters' names, and also how, like I said, it was very thorough. But what astounded me, and we're not going to like list every statue, we're not going to get into the weeds of it all, play Emerald Rush to unlock them. But talking about the Kremlin crew, I was gobsmacked that one of the Kremlin crew additions was K. Wolopoid, the Wolopoid variant with K. Rool's face instead of Void's face. And it's included with the Kremlin crew. It's on the Gangplank Galleon wreckage. And I'm like, holy shit. That's dedication right there.
Yeah, they've just been going all out. And especially with, I'm really happy K. Rool has 4 of Emerald Rush.
It's too much. Like, even as a K. Rool fan, I'm like, did you really need 4? I do view one of them as not so much a K. Rool statue, even though that's what it's called, that's what it's labeled, but I justify it in my mind as, oh, well, he's got the Chaos Mark II backpack that he's wearing. It's a statue for that character, not so much this yet another iteration of K. Rool, very minorly different from this statue of K. Rool over here.
Honestly, they could sell me like 30 K. Rool statues and I'd buy more DLC.
No, I know that. Yeah, I mean, thank God they're not trying to like go hardcore into the microtransactions, and it's like, oh yeah, spend $5.99 to get this Baron K. Rulenstein statue, spend $39.99 to get this pack of all the Brothers Bear. I mean, that could be coming at some point, but I don't think so.
That would be legendary. Like, each layer is just like different Brothers Bear.
Oh, God. I mean, they're going to run out of room on DK Island eventually. I don't know what they're going to do. But, yeah, like, this is fun. And, of course, like, the more you buy, eventually the price goes up. It's like, oh, no, now I have to spend 200 banana chips, 300 banana chips, 400 banana chips, but it does keep driving you to play Emerald Rush, to keep accruing those banana chips, to get more statues, because you are, in effect, building a museum of Donkey Kong history on Donkey Kong Island. And as somebody who has dedicated much of his life to talking about Donkey Kong history, having that visual representation of all of these disparate strands of the series coming together as a cohesive whole. Again, harmony. Oh my God, it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, like it's I think it definitely was like worth it, like after like the drought of like 11 years, because they were working on stuff. We just didn't know until like late. Like they still cared about DK. They were helping him out like behind the scenes, but it just feels really vindicating. Like all this stuff is just like you say, in harmony. Like everything is just like everything worked out. Like everything is just back. It feels good.
So, Courtney in a live stream says, "Where is my Clump statue? Hashtag nipple watch." Well, I think there's going to be a nipple themed event, and we'll have Clump, and we'll have either Trough or Scoff, and it'll just be the big old titty twister monthly event. In I don't know what layer would that be good for. I guess you'd have to go back to freezer layer for that, because the cold makes the nipples purr.
What about feast layer?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, gobble gobble on this Clump's luscious boobage. Let's talk about the final ending for Bananza for now. This is unlocked after filling out the initial Void Cove reward sheet, not the secondary Void Cove reward sheet that comes after. It's not even really the ending of the game, is it? It's more just the story continues, ... But this is the closest to a cinematic ending we'll probably get, on top of all the other endings. And so once you fill out the initial, once you get enough initial points, right, for playing Emerald Rush, this isn't necessarily how well you do or how much of it you complete, just how much of it you play. You will then cut to Donkey Kong Island, and it'll be sunset. And you're like, what? It's sunset. And not only sunset, but it's also high tide. And I love that little detail. And this is an alternate setting that you can revisit occasionally in the game. I don't think I prefer this over just the normal daytime setting, but what a lovely feast for the eyes. Talk about feast layer. You talk about sucking on a clump's tits. This is almost as good for the eyeballs.
It's cool that it actually kind of reminiscence on the ending of Donkey Kong 64 when they're all on K. Lumsey in the sunset on DK Isle. So I think maybe that could have been like an inspiration for this very cool sunset backdrop of the ending of this.
For sure. I mean, given how DK64 inspired so much of Bananza is as a whole, but really the DLC in particular, it wouldn't surprise me. So Voidco HQ has been given a bit of an upgrade. All of the emerald ore you've collected for Void thus far has allowed him to invest in some infrastructure improvements, specifically a much flashier sign. It's still a dump. I mean, he's still living in squalor, but, progress, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. And Void laughs in all caps. He does his yeah, but he's very, very exuberant here. And he says, my plan is finally coming together. Now that I possess a fortune's worth of emerald ore, I'll recharge my pay dirt pile driver with its special emerald energy and fly to international markets all over the globe. Of course, in my mind, I'm like, Timbers Island, the Isle of Hags, Panther Kingdom, Pinata Island. I don't, of course I'm thinking in those, and I'm sure most people were thinking like New Donk City or whatever, but you know me. Mm-hmm. Void says, Voidco's exclusive emerald energy will be sold worldwide, but only after I make everyone beg me for it first. I'm finally going to get what I deserve. Infinite wealth will be mine. More! I want more! Bring me every last glittering speck of emerald you can find. It's all mine. Yeah! And this is where Pauline, it starts to dawn on her, or in this case, sunset on her, that they fucked up. She says, TK? Did we do something we shouldn't have? And Donkey Kong could say, maybe, or I guess, which is basically the same. And then Squawks interjects, says, squawk, squawk. Pauline says, huh? And she turns around, and there in Squawk's cabana, Grumpy and Poppy are back. And Pauline greets them, and Grumpy says, howdy, you two. Let me guess, our old boss hornswoggled ya into helping him out, right? Don't you worry, that dirt pile of his won't be flying anytime soon. I made a little adjustment under the hood, so to speak. Yep, this old clunker will stay parked in your front yard for a good long while. Poppy says it doesn't matter how much emerald ore he collects if he can't leave here with it. So don't worry, darlings. Let him have his fun. That dolt loves to feel like he's in charge. The important thing is that you get something out of it. And so Grumpy then goes on to explain that whatever funny business he tries to pull next, they'll be ready to stop him. And that, they worked with him a lot. They know his tricks, and there's nothing he can do that they won't be on top of. And then, Cranky, Diddy, Dixie, and then the distance, Ramby, then show up down on the beach. And Cranky says, oh ho, we'll be watching out for that profit-hungry pipsqueak as well. Diddy and Dixie in unison say, you can count on us. And I like the implication. that basically what Cranky, Diddy, and Dixie are saying is if Void attempts anything, they'll slit his throat while he sleeps. There is this like undertone of, yeah, we won't let him leave or we're gonna kill him. So don't worry about all this Emerald Rush stuff. Don't worry about making him rich, because if he ever attempts to leave Donkey Kong Island again, we will strangle him. I guess that's what they're implying. It's like, don't worry, all of the moral responsibility has been lifted from your souls, and we will get the stabbing if things go south. Which I guess it's a good justification for it. Pauline says, yeah, I guess we don't have to worry since everyone here is keeping an eye on him. We did a great job collecting all of those emeralds, DK. I know it was a lot of work, but we had so much fun, didn't we? And we got so many chips. All right, it's time for us to get back to our adventure. But hey, maybe we could collect emeralds for Void every now and then. And then Void, in the last dialogue of Donkey Kong Bananza, laughs maniacally one more time with his Fractone assistants around him. And it's like, oh yeah, this deluded sad sack thinks he's getting away with it, but he doesn't know what's up. And then you cut to the credits for the DLC, which are this very unique kind of thing where it's kind of like Smash Brothers in a sense, where you get to run around Donkey Kong Island for the first time in this sunset aesthetic and look at all of the credits hidden around Donkey Kong Island. Because they're appearing as like floating terrain, like floating emerald and whatnot.
Yeah, I find it really funny that Void for the rest of his life is just under house arrest on Donkey Kong Island, that he can no longer like live his life or do anything else. He's forced to just collect emeralds for a dream that he could never accomplish because other people just like kill him if he ever tries to do it.
I mean, I'm sure that this will be walked back. I'm sure Void will eventually get off Donkey Kong Island, even if it's in a side game. If Void appears in Donkey Kong Croquet or something, I'm sure Void will. I mean, there's a warp gong right over there, right? He can probably, I mean, not that the elevator will take Void, considering, but there are ways. He can make a swim for it. He can get a little boat. He can sneak away in the dead of night. But yeah, so how much did you like explore the credit scene?
I'm going to let you on a little secret. I've seen the credits, but I haven't actually played through them. But I know Donkey Kong fan has not beaten the whole Donkey Kong game.
Tisk.
I'm just ruining this conversation. I'm lying. I never even heard of Donkey Kong until now, actually. This has all just been
It's a good bluff you've been doing. I mean, you're a great con artist. I'll give you that much.
A very Kong artist.
Artist, yeah. There's one bit of the credits that gave me a jump scare. Okay, so it was within the interior cavern in the middle of the island, through Donkey Kong's face. You go through the door where it would lead to Donkey Kong's Jungle Hut in DK64, and you're in the cavern. You're in like the little moat, the little ponds, the little bay within, behind the waterfall. And one of the credits is you. Your Nintendo account name is included in the credits under player. So I went in under here and I was, mucking about, and I saw player Sir Slush 2. And I was like, ah! And I was like, how did I get in the credits? I was like, wait, that's not my name. Not really. And, it's nice to finally be recognized in a Donkey Kong game. I'm not displeased about it. It's a cute touch, though. And, of course, my Nintendo account is based off of my old internet email when I got online back in 1998 and Banjo-Kazooie was new. And of course, I named it after the snowman from Banjo-Kazooie. So in effect, my copy of Donkey Kong Bananza has a Banjo-Kazooie reference in it. On top of everything else, Sir Slushes were referenced in Donkey Kong Bananza. That's wild.
It just keeps getting better and better about Bonanza each and every day.
Yeah, I can't wait until we get that statue. All right, we've got calls to take, Sxips. We've got, I cut it off at 6 calls yet again, but a lot of people wanted to get in on this last Bonanza episode of the season. So we've got 6 calls, and then I'll read a comment from the DK Vine forum, actually. But, you can always call the DK Vine hotline at 1-202-630-VINE. It's 8463. I also accept, DMs on Blue Sky. Send me a DM there if you are sheepish about calling in, or you live somewhere where it's, considered an international call. Completely understand. I do like the idea of using the DK Vine forum for this, and maybe we'll, set up something up for season 14, a specific post on the DK Vine forum where you can reply with Kongversation comments, and I can pull from those for every episode. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. But Sxips, let's go ahead and play our first call.
Hello, DK Vine. This is Chocolate Milk Drinker. I'm actually calling pretty late into the night, since it is a school night, so I want to get these thoughts out quick before I go to sleep. So Emerald Rush, wow, it is such a great DLC, and just such a great, add-on to Bonanza. It is absolutely, doubled the amount of playtime that I have in Bonanza, and it is just oh my gosh, it is so fun. Just the satisfaction of getting a super high combo score on difficulty 7 or 8 or whatever of Emerald Rush is so much fun. And the DK Island map, oh my gosh, it is just such a cool mode. It is such a cool map. There's so many nods and just combinations of everything about DK Island. Obviously, it is not scale, and I feel like the DK64 version is better, but just, oh my gosh, what a cool DLC. I don't care if it's some sort of cheap add-on because they didn't make it in time. I love this DLC, and just even the amount of extra events that we have so far, they're so crazy. Okay, Kong Bananza's expected, but On Guard, Chunky Kong and Lanky Kong. I arrived home from school that day and I learned about it. I was just going nuts. I was going crazy. It's just so glad, and I'm so happy that we have a DK team at Nintendo and EPD that's actually Donkey Kong fans. They actually know, and they think like us. They want to see the same things we want to see. It's almost like everyone just traveled back in time to go see this, and just, oh my god. The future for Donkey Kong has never been more brighter than it ever has been, and I can never be so much happier. Goodbye.
Well, thank you for the call, Chocolate Milk Drinker. The great thing about once you're out on your own is you can talk about Donkey Kong all night long and not wake up anybody. No, I love this call. Chocolate Milk Drinker actually called in before the DK Island episode I did with Miles, and then was like, oh, I didn't know you weren't going to be talking about Emerald Rush. Save that for the Emerald Rush episode. And I said, can do. So here we are. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. In the chat, Andrew said that, pointed out that so many people said Emerald Rush wasn't worth paying for when it was announced, and they're straight up wrong. And I agree with that. I think that is apt. Because here's the thing. I have gotten my money's worth out of this and then some. It is such a great addition to Bonanza. And at the end of the day, I think I will probably have spent more time in Emerald Rush than actually the main story and post-game of Bonanza, because it's what I'm going to be playing throughout 2026.
It's just like crazy how much like the Donkey Kong brand has like shifted in such a radical, like positive way for us, like after all the years. Like it's crazy that now we have all these references to like these characters again. Like even I think the fact when they announced Chunky was like gonna have a physical presence, it was like, okay, yeah, this series is safe for now on. Like it's in very good hands. I don't see anything like that happening ever again. What happened like in the 2000s, I think we're golden for the rest of time.
Well, Sxips, the thing is, we have been saying this. Like, you have been saying it. Several people, like Kremlin campaigners, Uncle Al is one, the rest of the DK Vine staff. We have all been saying this for several years now. And all of this is just like confirmation for the masses that, yeah, like this is actually the direction the Donkey Kong series was headed. And I mean, the fact that we are getting fan service at all is bewildering to me, but the fact that it's done in such a thoughtful, loving way, and in a mode that is so fun. It is so much fun. I'm not a maths kind of guy. I don't like numbers. Numbers suck. I like letters. Numbers are boring. Numbers are clinical and sterile, and letters fuck. But I love Emerald Rush. Emerald Rush makes numbers sexy. That's what I'll say about Emerald Rush. I'm astounded I'm having this much fun with it. And the fact that it's still so rooted in Donkey Kong logic and has that play setting really helps get me over the hurdle of a very video gamey, arcadey, as you said, mode that I wouldn't normally gravitate towards.
Yeah, it's been a really big blast. Like I said prior, I wasn't really into it, but like once I started to get into it, it became like such an exhilarating, like fun experience to like go through like all the levels again in such a way that is so freeform with Donkey Kong's movement within Bonanza, and it just feels so satisfying.
Yeah. And thank you for the cold chocolate milk drinker. Can I just say your calls this year have really been a joy to listen to. Like, seriously, I see so much of myself at your age. Like, you are basically me during the hype cycle for Donkey Kong 64. And it's just like, yeah, it's great. It's like, gives me hope for the future, you know, like, oh, the kids are all right. And, you know, it doesn't matter when you're born, so long as you like Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong's internal. Like he'll live on forever.
Yeah, it's what unites us across generations, across borders and oceans. We all come together based on a shared love of this stupid cartoon gorilla. Breaks barriers. I'm telling you, it is the key. Am I saying Donkey Kong can bring about world peace? Yes. That is exactly what I'm saying.
I think that he definitely could bring on world peace with that.
All right, let's play our second call.
Hello, DK Vine. This is Traveler of the Stars. We have finally made it to the final Bonanza episode. For now, until they add the Professor Chops statue, and Hyle, you can have me on for that. We can talk longer than you and Courtney about that. You know, everyone's been saying, and you've been saying, Hyle, that people have been so mean to you lately, no one likes you. I feel like I'm chopped liver, Professor Chops liver, and the DK Wild Hot Dog. I talk what you almost every call, Hyle, but I'll just say, you know, all these great statues, all these golden statues, if I get a statue of you, I'd take it over Professor Chops. And I just want to say in all seriousness that, thank you for all these Bonanza episodes. They've been a lot of fun. Yes, I am so heartbroken at No Divide episode, but it's okay. So I'm going to call about Emerald Rush. That's why I'm here to call. I love Emerald Rush. This is so much fun. It's so unique and different. You know, I don't know if you know Splatoon. It's a little squid and octopus game. They had kind of a roguelike structure to Splatoon 3's DLC. It kind of sort of reminded me a little bit, you know, Emerald Rush sort of reminded me of that. And I don't know, it's just interesting to see if Nintendo would keep doing this. I'd love to see them try out this in other games. If they could expand Emerald Rush or something like that, that'd be really, really cool. I love that it gave Void Kong kind of a final, after the ending, yeah, King K. Rool's great and all that. And, you know me, I'm always a proponent of new things, of course. And all the old things. But I'm glad that Void Kong kind of got a final opportunity to be himself. You know, we see him. He's so expressive. The music is so great, and I can't listen to it outside of the game without hearing the bit crushed Void Kong voice. I love it so much. Yeah, and I just, you know, how many times have I called about, oh, look, they got a Fish Poker Pop statue. They got a Cat and Nine Tail statue. Look, it's all eras of Donkey Kong together. But, you know, it is really great just to see. I'm calling when a Tux and Lord Frederick statue just got announced, so, you know, I honestly think that's kind of cool. But I forgot that when I called about the DK Island DLC, I have no connection with the DK Bongos, but seeing those, it made me legitimately happy because, again, it's just great to see it all here. Even, you know, crotchety fans who may not like Jungle Beat. I have no connection to Jungle Beat, but seeing those statues made me happy. So, all in all, I just think this bodes incredibly, incredibly well for DK's future that, yeah, we can see the Shipwreck Gameplay Galleon, but we can also have Void Kong just dicking around. And, you know, it's just great. So thank you again, Hyle, for these episodes. I look forward to this new era of DK. Have a good one.
Well, yeah, thank you for the call, Traveler of the Stars. And again, thank you for your perspective as well, because I do have the tunnel vision. I do have my blinders up sometimes. I am a rare era baby. I am all about the era of the DKU when it really was the DKU, you know, Donkey Kong alongside Banjo-Kazooie and Conker. And that's my perspective for the series. But other people come in different points in time. You are your returns baby, and I do appreciate that perspective because it helps keep me in check. It helps keep me more honest as a Donkey Kong journalist and a Donkey Kong scholar to remember that my perspective is but one of many, and there is no universal truth when it comes to Donkey Kong, except that there are no truths and that everything has the same level of credence and deserves the same level of respect. And we are finally getting that with Bananza. My God, we have the rare era, we have the retro era, we have this new EPD era. Now we have Jungle Beat references. It's all in harmony with each other. What is happening?
I tell you, they're gonna bring back those DK bongos. They patented it like a while back. They're gonna get some Nintendo NSO DK bongos, and they're gonna get some Donkey Konga up in the GameCube classics.
You don't need Donkey Konga because that is actually trash. But do bring back Jungle Beat on NSO with the DK bongos because that is really the best way to play Jungle Beat. New play control version, it is what it is, but Jungle Beat with the bongos as nature intended feels so good, surprisingly good. Like I said, I love Jungle Beat. Jungle Beat's a really fun game. My problem with Jungle Beat isn't even really rooted in the historical context and like the mistranslated interview. That's all kind of nonsense. It's water under the bridge. But my problem with Jungle Beat is still it felt so disconnected from everything else. And not just everything that came before, but everything that's come since. And the fact that we now have a Ninja Kong statue and a Ghastly King statue in Bananza, it's like, yeah, it feels so good because it does pull it in a little bit. It pulls Jungle Beat in with the rest of the series. And I'm like, hell yeah. Like it makes me feel like it's all part of the story because it is, and it's all acknowledged, and we don't have to constantly reinvent Donkey Kong. We can embrace everything. And I think it really does. And maybe I'm just like putting too much weight in it, but I think you'll probably agree with me, Sxips, that ground zero for all of this was that Smash ballot. It was the K. Rool fans organizing, rallying, getting K. Rool over that line, making Nintendo realize, oh shit, there are Donkey Kong fans out there who like Donkey Kong things. And it really got the ball rolling to get us here in this new era where they are just reveling in all of Donkey Kong's history.
Yeah, like especially living through all that, like that decade ago, like I think I swarmed so much of Smashboards back then for supporting K Rule because I loved K Rule in general because I think it's funny because I'm like the reverse Returns baby. I played Returns first, I liked it, but I didn't really fully get invested into DKC when I played through 1 and 2 off of Wii Virtual Console. That's when I really started to love like the rare aesthetic of DK. Like, yeah, oh my god, I love this. It's like, how haven't I not played this before? But I think the retro studio games are great, but I just felt like I've always felt more attached to Rare's take on DK, in a sense.
Yeah, but again, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. You can have both. And it's been the biggest rallying cry from me. I know other DK Viners like Cameron have really stressed this. Like, we don't need every game to be just a gluttonous smorgasbord of references. We don't need to have 300 characters in every game, but we want it to feel possible that anything could be referenced, anything could come back, anything could just feel like it is a continuation of this pre-existing world. Don't start from scratch every single time you make a Donkey Kong game. And for all of the concerns everybody had about Bananza from that initial trailer, it has proven that no, like for the first time since arguably 2002, everything is on the table again. And I mean, my God, I mean, we are just getting silly with statue possibilities for these monthly events. Like, oh, what are we going to see next? We're going to get some Trough and Scoff in there. We're going to get some big tittied clumps in there. We're going to get some, maybe even Xananab or, all 13 Brothers Bear, 14 with Bachelor Bear, maybe just the Bachelor Bear statue, Bachelor Bear and Kerosene and the Croctopus from DKC3, just the remake characters. Gonna get a month for that. Anything's possible. And I never thought I would be able to truthfully say that. I, like Void, have lived in somewhat of a state of delusion. To keep this whole process of doing this podcast, of writing for DK Vine, in a state of merriment. I have believed Nintendo had big plans for Donkey Kong, and we were right about that, but the extent that we are now seeing, I didn't think that was possible. I thought it would still be a bit piecemeal, like, okay, they're bringing back K. Rool. They're bringing back this character, and that character, but everything else is still off the table. And it's like, no, the whole history is open to us now.
Yeah, I think I would compare it to how what DK is now with all this like representation is kind of like how Kirby has been through over the years with like how it represents its past and like other like eras itself. It's done something similar that we're now feeling like what Kirby fans have been feeling like for quite some time now.
I think really what it is Nintendo being taking Donkey Kong back in internally, but also having that generational shift of having super fans of Super Donkey Kong, in Japan, and really just having fellow travelers and fellow Traveler of the Stars come in and develop for the series and having the same perspectives that we all have. I mean, having the same fan debates and fantasies and headcanons that we have all shared on an international basis. I mean, I think Bananza works so well because it does do so much of what we have always fantasized about as a collective whole for the Donkey Kong series. And yeah, it's truly heartening to see. I mean, sometimes good things come to those who wait. Not often, but sometimes that old adage is true. So thank you for the call, Traveler. Let's go ahead and play our third call.
Hello, Hyle. Hello, Sxips. By the way, congratulations, Sxips, on having the best year ever, not only for Donkey Kong, but for Kirby. Have you told Hyle that Kirby has had animal buddies basically just like Donkey Kong? I feel like that's something you should know. But let's call next. I'm here to talk about Emerald Rush. I think three main things here. First of all, the gameplay is, I think, very smart in that, a lot like Mario Odyssey's Balloon World, this is clearly kind of an iteration of, it's a way to use the extremely expressive platforming abilities you've been given. It's a way to fully utilize them in a way that the base game doesn't expect you to. And this is very common for 3D platformers, for like Mario 3D platformers in particular. You have this incredible suite of abilities and a lot of ways to get chain into each other, but the game is supposed to be very accessible, very easy, so for the main campaign, you barely have to tap into that very much, which I think is a fine way to design it. But it does mean that like they spend a lot of work on these mechanics, and they're usually just for like professional players to mess around with or maybe go a little bit faster with them. But Emerald Rush is a very fun way to do that. I wouldn't have thought like Donkey Kong roguelite. That wouldn't have been my first thought for how to expand Bananza, but I think it makes a lot of sense, particularly since they're trying to go for the seasonal thing, especially giving you statues for these seasons, which sort of leads me into the second topic. So obviously this is a very cheap way to do fan service. I think the only thing cheaper would be like Spirits of Smash Ultimate, where clearly just a PNG. But it's still fun to see that they are immediately going into the well. Maybe truly all DK eras will be represented. Until we get that Xan statue, I'm still going to doubt a little bit, but the fact that it's on the table is marvelous. I guess to end off with the sort of little excuse for a plot that remains here, the idea is that Boy Kong is neutered. Even though we're giving him all this emerald, we're giving him all this wealth. Supposedly it doesn't matter because the Tater Pile Driver has been sabotaged, so we can't bring these emeralds to anyone, so we can just keep going guilt-free. But I'm not perfectly satisfied with that. All he needs to do is like find a way to get emeralds to the buyer or get a buyer to come to him, and he can immediately like regain his wealth and do whatever nefarious things he wants. But, who would be able to like drive, ships to Donkey Kong Island or something like that? Who did drive ships to DK Island 10 years ago? And who's going to be in the next wave of the statues? That's right, Donkey Kong Bananza 2 is going to open up on Snowmad's Void Kong Alliance. You heard it here first, folks.
Well, thank you for the call. You're having a good year. Is that true, Sxips? Is that true about Kirby?
Yeah. So what happened is that Kirby Air Riders was announced, obviously, the same time as Bonanza was, and there was a lot of speculation of like who would appear on the roster. And one of the characters that I didn't think would actually happen, the character I'm really, really passionate about from Kirby, it's Rick, which is it's Kirby's Rambi in a sense in the Kirby series. And I did, as a joke, when the game was announced, I did a similar Kremlin campaigner type thing for Rick, because as a joke, and because like, oh yeah, they're not gonna like put him in. There's no way. And then a few weeks before the game got released, they announced it for the game. It's like, oh, okay, they're just giving me everything this year. Like, what is going on?
I mean, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I am so in my bubble for the DKU that for me, Bananza is still the new hotness. It reminds me of 98 in particular, because Banjo-Kazooie came out that June, and by November, like, everybody had moved on to Ocarina of Time, or Pokemon, which had come out in the West a couple months prior to Ocarina, and meanwhile, I was still on message boards being like, but Banjo-Kazooie? We still haven't figured out the ice key, everyone. Hello? And, of course, in the Nintendo world, we've had several big releases since Bonanza. Metroid Prime 4 just came out, Kirby Air Riders. But for me, I mean, the fact that Bonanza is still an ongoing topic thanks to these monthly events, thanks to Emerald Rush, it is very fortunate because I don't feel like I have been displaced like I was in 98, and I realized that other people don't have as insular interest as I do. And I was left kind of holding the bag to like, well, fine, if you won't talk about Banjo-Kazooie with me, I'll just start my own website. Yeah. And then DK Vine was born, a short 9 months later, with the help of Chad. But I'm just like over the punched moon when it comes to Emerald Rush and everything it's doing to extend Bonanza's life. And I do think there's a purpose to it. I mean, obviously this is Nintendo's MO nowadays, right? Like, Bonanza isn't the only one they have done for this, but I do think it serves a purpose not specific to Donkey Kong, but that will in fact pay dividends for the Donkey Kong series. And in the live stream chat, Emerald Topaz says that's also very similar to Kirby. A big reason that series started embracing its history so well is because the current series director was a super fan. So yeah, I mean, I've always said, Sxips, that in the darkest times of the Donkey Kong series, or in the times where we felt the most put out as fans, that all I really wanted from the Donkey Kong series was to kind of be on the same level as Kirby, to have reliable releases and to not be afraid of its own shadow, of not being afraid of it as a series. And, you know, I feel like we're there. We're finally there.
It's a great feeling. Also, the call talks about Void Kong being like kind of like pushed aside like near the end, like, oh, this will be like the finale of like this character. But I think this mode really plants the seed that they have much more to do with this character within the brand. I could really see him as like this helper Kong, like you see like how he could join the ranks of like, say, Candy, like Wrinkly, like Funky, like helping the Kongs in their adventures, but doing it in a very like Monkey's Paw-esque style, where basically he'll help them, but like it's like he basically gives them like much more rewards, but for like harder challenges. They could do something cool with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Void, Poppy, Grumpy, I think they're all here to stay, and I think that what this does set up is Void will be an antagonist going forward, but he won't necessarily be all that threatening of an antagonist. He will be like neutered, as was just mentioned, but I think like more so like he won't pose this like climatic world-ending threat that your K. Rool's might provide. He will be more of a nuisance, of like a mosquito buzzing around your head, which can still be lethal depending on what viruses they carry, but ultimately manageable all the same.
Yeah, speaking of K. Rool, like you could definitely build up the dynamic of like him now like hating K. Rool for after like fully embarrassing him like that at the Forbidden Lair. You could build off of like maybe Void using DK to like upstage K. Rool. Like DK could get rid of K. Rool himself, and then he'll deal with DK. Like you could make some fun dynamics with that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great strengths of the Donkey Kong series is its embrace of continuity, of history, of having that like long unfolding story that isn't discarded. And I think Bonanza, like calling back to so many past adventures in both like Easter eggs, but also just dialogue references. And I don't think like the events of Bonanza will just be hand waved away going forward. I think they'll build on like the rivalry, the antagonism, the feelings of resentment that Void has for K. Rool, and there could be a lot of fun dynamics going forward as Donkey Kong's Rogues Gallery is celebrated in a true fashion for the first time in history. All right, well, thank you so much for the call. Let's go ahead and play our fourth caller.
Hi, Hyle and Sxips. This is Thomas from off of the Kremlin Campaigner. Looking forward to this Emerald Rush episode. Had to call in for it. I didn't think I would love this mode as much as I did. I wasn't that excited just listening to the trailer itself, but that was before I sunk 150 plus hours into it, just playing it over and over again, trying to optimize the strats for the different levels and all that. The gameplay loop, there are people who will phrase this more better and professionally than I will, but it feels like it takes Bonanza's like base gameplay of just exploring the environment, punching and collecting the bananas and all that, and it turns it into Bonanza's equivalent of like a time trial mode. Not in that you have to rush to the nearest sinkhole on the fastest timeline, but collect as much gold and stuff as you can within like a set time frame. It's a testament to how great the game's base gameplay is, that it can support that, as well as the creativity of the Emerald Rush team in figuring out how they can enhance that. I love how they've encouraged all of these creative perk builds through all these weekly events, not to mention the excitement in the community of seeing who shows up next as a trophy. It reminds me of the really good days of Smash Brothers trophies, like in Melee, where they would actually create original models for those characters versus mostly copying over existing models. It's really funny, the irony where everyone, when Bananza first got revealed, was like, oh no, is this another Jungle Beat situation? And now we're getting hyped about new designs for Ninja Kong and Ghastly King. It's amazing how much retroactive appreciation you can have for parts of the series that you might not have liked all that much at the time when it appears now in a game that celebrates all eras of DK. All that said, Hyle and Sxips, I want to tip my hat to you both for all that you've done this year for different reasons. Hyle, you have to be so tired after this conversation season, but you should be so proud of the body of work that you have put together since Bananza's unveil. These episodes are going to stand on all these podcast apps and YouTube for years as this historic library of how folks felt living through these really uncharted waters for this franchise. It'll make people's experience that much better. Sxips, you never gave up hope during those pre-release months, even when this ingrained internet pessimism thing was just assuming, like, oh no, K. Rool's not going to be in the game. He wasn't in the trailers, obviously. They would market him if he was in the game. Your optimism from Ultimate through the present is such a wonderful breath of fresh air, and I'm so happy that I get to watch with you and everyone else as Nintendo rolls out whatever's next for DK. Even if I might quietly disagree if you end up theorizing that the Illumination DK movie is inspired by Greek mythology or something. Anyway, Merry Kremsmas to all. We're saying Merry Kremsmas again. And to all a good night. Spelled K-night.
I would have also accepted K. Yule, just personally speaking, but thank you so much. and no, thank you in particular, since you thanked us. The Kremlin campaigner as this fulcrum of fan support for K. Rool during the Smash ballot. Again, like, there's a reason I reached out to you as soon as I was tipped off the day of the K. Rool Smash reveal about what a sizable impact the fans had towards that and how much it bewildered Nintendo. Not bewildered them in a bad way, but like really shook them up in like realizing and recognizing that they have been underserving this segment of the fandom. And it was kind of like, the blinders opening up for the first time. And I mean, that you contributed so much during that time period. And I mean, as a collective whole, like, the fandom is responsible, but you should feel good about that. And it's funny because there was all that doubt of, I mean, you've lived this 3 times over. Because there was all that disappointment of, oh, we did not get K. Rool into the Super Smash Brothers for Nintendo 3DS and Wii U DLC. We failed. And then there was going into Smash Ultimate. Are they going to put K. Rool in it? And then they did. And then there was all the concern and debate and drama over, is K. Rool going to be in Bananza? Is he really back? Or was that somehow a freakish one-off, even though Smash Brothers is the kingmaker? And ultimately, I mean, no pun intended, the story ends on a happy note for everybody. And I think, like, the restoration of K. Rool goes well beyond K. Rool, because it's not just about K. Rool. It's about everything. And you should feel good about that. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, those words, like, really mean a lot. Because I think that whole portion of, like, supporting for K. Rool around that whole time, I think that was, like, at least half my life, like, that was dedicated to, like, back during the 2010s, getting that character to come back and just, like, Donkey Kong to have, like, this prominence again. And it just really means a lot, like, those words. I also think, like, yeah, like, arguing with people, like, Bananza pre-speculation or, like, during speculation, it's like, dude, they put K. Rool in Smash for a reason. Like, it's not just like they put, like, I'm gonna get, like, hate for this, but, like, they put Geno in Smash and, like, oh yeah, that's, what are they gonna do with him after? Because he's not a full Mario character. Like,
suck on it, Geno fans. Oh, cry a little more, maybe.
The thing is, I like Geno. I think Geno would be cool, but it's like,
I'm
Geno
just talking shit.
It's like K. Rool was a prominent villain from a highly successful series like DK, and it's like they weren't just gonna like not make this super ginormous celebration that this character was back in Super Smash Brothers and just like, oh well, that was fun. All right, back in the cellar you go for like another event. But like, no, they're not gonna show everything of the game like once it comes out. Like people are saying, oh yeah, K. Rool wasn't in the pre-release, or like he wasn't in the direct, despite the fact that his amiibo was there. Like, why would people not think he would be in the game in some form? But you know, it's all done. K. Rool's fully back, and I think it's amazing. I love K. Rool. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't want to relitigate all these old arguments. Don't matter anymore. But I do think, you know, cynicism was brought up, and I think that there is this tendency to be ultra cynical, especially in the face of not being wrong. It's much better to be cynical and right than to be optimistic and wrong on the internet. And I think so many people cannot see the forest for the trees. They cannot really like look at the bigger picture of what's happening and read the tea leaves. You don't even have to rely on, you know, DK Vine's reporting, our like sources, or, you know, Sxips theories or anything, to see what Nintendo's plans for the Donkey Kong series have been. And this magnificent rollout of brick by brick rebuilding the series, really since the Super Mario Brothers movie. That was kind of the launching pad. Obviously, like, a lot of this got started well before that, but as far as like the marketing, as far as this focused, we are rebuilding Donkey Kong, and we are using the Super Mario Brothers movie as this first step to reintroduce some of the characters to younger fans and families who maybe haven't been in the fandom before. And from there, you know, you've got the theme park, and now you've got Bonanza, and it's working. It's working.
All I know is that if K. Rool wasn't in the game, I think myself, I would have had to like dug myself under the planet core and like, go into hiding for a few years, because I feel like that would have been a whole angry mob after me after all of that.
No, look, the thing is, right, I think you were onto something. Obviously, maybe the journey into the West kind of theories. I still think there's something to that, but mind you, but I don't think it was, you know, necessarily 1-to-1. But I think that as soon as you saw the Cremisphere map, it was like, well, of course, K. Rool is going to be in it in some capacity, right? Like, it's just, yeah. And Courtney in the live stream says, I've always said I was doubtful before Bonanza was released, but if you look back at all the art I was reposting and even the dreams I was having, I think I knew and believed with my whole heart. And yeah, like even me, who was unspoiled, who somehow remained in the dark until he got to that part of Forbidden Lair, I knew. I knew somewhere deep down, of course, K. Rool was going to be it. I mean, if I had any doubts, it was just based on being disappointed in the past and like, oh, look in the background of Tropical Freeze, there's a rock that has K. Rool's face, kind of. It's a reference. But once I got the Chaos fossil in Feast Layer, I was like, okay.
You know what's funny is that I had a friend who was playing it. I was watching them play it, and when they got to the Feast Layer, they're like, yeah, Sxips, I don't think the Kremlings are in this game at all. But then like they saw the Chaos fossil, it's like, oh, well, that seems very funny, considering the fact that they put a Chaos fossil before the twist, which is very funny, because if DKC3, you know that's the twist, is Chaos. It's a very good design.
Again, the fossils were expertly built, the kind of momentum. And you just start small. It's like, oh, is that a zinger in amber? And then, you know, you eventually get to like the fossil of Chaos the robot, and in the description it alludes to K. Rool, and then you're like, yeah, it's
bring it to me.
It's building up to it. It's coming. I'm coming. All right, thank you for the call. Let's play our fifth caller, our penultimate caller here on our final Bonanza episode of the season.
Hi, this is Tofu again. Sorry, I hope I'm not calling too late. First of all, I just want to say thank you for being so nice to me after my last call. Oh my goodness, I was so nervous. I will admit I wrote down what I wanted to say ahead of time because I do get so scatterbrained just talking normally. Also, I thought it was funny that when I said my passion was Banjo-Kazooie, you said you were worried that that I was gonna say my passion was Mario and Odyssey specifically, and I hate to break it to you, but although Banjo-Kazooie is my favorite, Mario is a pretty close second, and Odyssey specifically is one of my favorite games ever. So it is important to, I think how Banjo-Kazooie-like of a game Odyssey is. Anyway, Donkey Kong Bananza DLC. I haven't actually bought it yet. Sorry, I don't have a proper first-hand opinion on it. It was just kind of too high of an asking price for me right now, and I've been busy, so I knew I wouldn't have much time for it anyways, so I figured I'd wait on it. And they almost got me, though, with the Chunky and Lanky Kong statues, because those are my boys. I love those guys. So I guess my opinion is I'm mad at Nintendo for locking those collectibles behind limited time events in a DLC. Not a big fan of that, so I guess what I want to say is hopefully they have reruns of some of these events for people like me who have missed out on the statues so far. And, I'm sure plenty of people are going to get the game for Christmas as well. So hopefully they have some reruns to accommodate for that as well. That's really just the gist of what I wanted to say. Hopefully they have reruns of some of these events. But I guess another thing I wanted to ask is, what other characters do you want to see as statues? If you didn't talk about it already. For me, I would love to see a Tiny Kong statue because she's the only 64 Kong we have left, and she's my favorite Kong in 64 to play as. I hope she has her 64 design because that's the design I prefer. Though honestly, since they've been doing these statues in groups of two, they could just have both Tiny Kong designs as statues, just have two Tiny Kongs for an event. Sure, why not? But I think the character that I would really be surprised and be really happy to see as a statue is Crunch. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Crunch is the only other Diddy Kong racing character that Nintendo owns the rights to. So, there should be theoretically nothing stopping them from having Crunch as a statue, right? I think, why not? I would be so happy for that. I honestly just want Crunch to make a comeback in general. But I think for now, just having him as a statue would be really cool. Okay, getting on the time now, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you for taking the call. Bye.
Well, thank you so much for the call. And look, I'm actually going to address some of your points because I, too, write down my thoughts ahead of time because I tend to ramble and get lost in the sauce of my own voice, and it's what you do. It's how you keep things professional. So yeah, I was a bit kind of put off that they started the monthly events in October because I'm like, whoa. Some people are going to get this game for the holidays, right? And you're basically saying, oh, sorry, you don't get the first 3 sets of time-limited statues because you weren't an early adopter. And, some people, money is tight for so many people right now. And so when you factor in getting a new console and then buying this game and then buying the DLC, that's 3 hurdles you've got to jump to, not even getting into the time that's required to actually play enough to access DLC and Emerald Rush. So I was like, they should have waited a little bit longer, and I don't think it's fair, but I've been thinking about this, and I think what will probably happen is, as you said, they will rerun events. When all of the Emerald Rush events are said and done, and they've done the last new one with the last new set of statues, then it will be just on a monthly cycle reruns for the foreseeable future. Similar to how Mario Kart Tour, for example, has just been rerunning events for the last couple of years. Every month of every year is the same. So I think we could be seeing at the very least 1 year's worth of Emerald Rush events and then just a constant recycle. And so anybody who's jumping into the game, because Bonanza will be an evergreen like Emerald, title for the Switch 2 going forward, and there will be people getting Bonanza whenever they get a Switch 2, whenever that is, and so they won't want to gate all of this as like, oh, you weren't an early adopter, sucks to be you, you'll never have Chunky and Lanky in the southwest shores of DK Island, the Shallows, excuse me, and so they're not going to do that, so I do think they will rerun it. I would be shocked if they didn't.
Oh, yeah. To answer what statues you would like to see, well, I have two. One that's really likely. I think it'd be really cool since we have already getting a bunch of Kongs ready. Like, come on, why don't we just acknowledge Kitty Kong again? Like, we need Kitty Kong, at least as a statue.
Yeah, so well, I think it might go into the Tiny question, because Tiny, we saw her age up into a teenager. And so these statues don't necessarily have to be physical representations of the characters in the here and now, but so far, they arguably have been. So it's like, oh, they're probably leaving Kitty in cryogenic freeze until they know exactly how to handle Kitty in the here and now. And, like, I could see Kitty for sure, but I think Tiny is possible. However, I'm going to go for Broke. All right. So Tofu mentioned Crunch. Yeah. Definitely get Crunch in there. Crunch, and maybe Tricky, although it's probably a stretch to get Tricky in there. Tricky is the only other Diddy Kong Racing character Nintendo arguably has the rights to, but it's kind of a Schrodinger's Earthwalker situation with Tricky, where Nintendo probably can use him in his Star Fox form, but probably not as he appeared in Diddy Kong Racing, or they would be leery to go that far. So probably Tricky's off the table, but I would love, as I already mentioned Xananab, right? I would love some Payon representation, because so far there has been no Payon representation in Bonanza. And I think it's a huge glaring oversight. I think Bonanza has been so great about honoring so many eras and sub-eras of the series, but where is the Payon? Where are the Jungle Climber characters? Where are the Barrel Blast characters? Kip, Cass, Calypso. Come on. With a K. And I would also love the Brothers Bear. Any Brothers Bear, Dealer's Choice. It would tickle me. I would love Donkey Kong Land statues. Get me Hogwash the Flying Pig and, oh, I don't know, a Nemo or Hard Hat. I don't know. But Donkey Kong Land looms large in my mind's eye, and I would love for that to be acknowledged.
Oh, I would love a Hogwash trophy or a Hogwash statue. That's like my favorite Donkey Kong Land enemy. Just how like absurd it is. It's just a flying pig is just attacking you. But I think a never ever. I know Hyle, your opinions on this certain Donkey Kong thing over the years has gone through like a roller coaster. But what if we get a Bluster Kong statue? How would you feel about that?
I guess I don't know how I would feel about it until I saw it with my own eyes. But I don't I don't think that would be on the table, just because I don't think Nintendo would fully have the rights to Bluster Kong. I think that's tied up into the cartoon. It's not their original character. And I think, it honestly, and maybe this is my bias interceding here, but I think that you would have a more likely chance of them striking up some sort of deal with Rare to get some more Diddy Kong Racing representation in there before they would go down the Bluster Kong well. I just think that there's no incentive for them to really add Bluster Kong unless there's some hardcore cartoon fetishist on staff who really, really pushed for it. But it would be like referencing the Super Mario Brothers Super Show in a Mario. It's just not going to happen, really.
I mean, to be fair, they have nods like Banana Slam and stuff like that. And even then, the DKC show was really popular in Japan, so there probably are fans of the show in there.
Yeah, I mean, but Banana Slamma is one thing. A character who is probably tied up in all sorts of legal tendrils is another. And it's just like Nintendo doesn't really get any monetary value out of the cartoon right now. It's not something like they really have the rights to. So I'm just trying to think in like wide terms of what they want Donkey Kong's identity to be. And I think their focus will be on the Donkey Kong movie and, you know, like synchronizing the IP. And so that probably leaves Diddy Kong Racing in the dust. The only difference is I think Diddy Kong Racing will be on NSO sooner rather than later. I mean, in the grand scheme of the universe, before the heat death of the universe, before entropy sets in, Diddy Kong Racing will be on NSO, and they'll want to direct people towards it. But yeah, Traveler of the Stars is, of course, pitching more Returns characters. I do think we'll have Tiki Tong for sure. I think a Mole Miner is plausible, but, you know, we could have Tiki Goon. I'm going to say Tiki Gooner. Some of you will be gooning to Tiki Goon if you get Tiki Goon. But, yeah, I think that we'll clearly circle back around to some, like, retro characters. Like, if this goes for a year, there's so many characters, so many games to hit and to re-hit. So I don't think necessarily we'll even have game-specific sets. Because the first set was the Kong Bananza form and Engard the Swordfish. So does that mean we'll get, like, other Kong Bananzas paired with other animal buddies? I don't know.
I think a Colonel Pluck statue would be really cool, too. Like, stuff from Returns. Like, I think we could definitely see, since now we have Frederick and the Tusk coming soon, like the next one, I think we could see like Tiki Tong and like maybe Mugly, like the first boss at DKC Returns in a set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll be getting Returns characters, but I'm really hoping for some deep cuts. I'm hoping for the remote control barrel from Barrel Maze. I maybe not that would suck, but you know, surprise me, delight me, tease me, please me. Yeah, Wigglevine. Yeah, Wigglevine sucks, Traveler. I'll defend so many Returns characters, but Wigglevine is a big floating plant mass with human teeth. Wigglevine can get fucked. Yeah, cry all you want about it, Traveler. I don't care. Look, you can have Professor Chops will definitely be a statue. I will, you know what? I will do something untoward next year if Professor Chops isn't a statue. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I will streak. I don't know if I will release a sex tape. I don't know, but I'll do something depraved if Professor Chops doesn't become a statue by the end of the Emerald Rush events. You can hold me to that. I haven't really committed to anything, but you can hold me to it all the same.
Who do you think will get a statue before Chops or Funky? Like, what's the race? Like,
Thank you for bringing up Funky. Funky deserves a statue. Like, I know Funky is a boring choice, right? But all the same, if we are building this monument to Donkey Kong history across DK Island in Bonanza, you've got to have Funky. Like, it would be weird if Funky was excluded.
Yeah, it's just weird he's not in base Bonanza at all, but like there's references clearly to him, but he's just not physically there yet.
And the thing is, like, I'm almost okay if we don't get a Candy statue, because at least Candy is physically on the portrait in DK's Treehouse. And, you know, there are characters who don't necessarily need to be statues because their presence is felt enough in Bonanza. But I do think Funky is just this big, glaring, obvious, hey, what the hell? And as this idea of this history museum continues to evolve and we get characters like Ninja Kong in the mix, it's just like, yeah, Funky needs to be there ASAP.
Yeah, I think the reason why we haven't seen it is because he's probably getting slightly redesigned because DK's face has changed. So like, and like you say, Funky is just like DK with like the shades initially, so they probably have to reconstruct his face a bit.
I don't know about that because we haven't really seen much in the way. I know like every Kong has gotten a tweak in their statues, but I mean, Ninja Kong still has the brow, the Kev Bayless brow, and I think Funky, the brow works with the shades, right? So it's like, I don't think you need to amend Funky all that much because Funky works as is. Just like Cranky wasn't really given a brow redesign. And some people had a problem with that, but I'm just like, well, it works for Cranky. And it's just all about, like, on a character-by-character basis, do we really need to reinvent the wheel, or is it pretty good as it is for what this character represents? And I think Funky is basically perfection. Like, God created Funky Kong and then just decided to retire on a beach somewhere. So I don't think we really need Funky to exactly match Donkey Kong. It's better that Funky doesn't match Donkey Kong. Because, yeah, that is how Funky was created. Just stick sunglasses on Donkey Kong's model and call it a day. But I think it's kind of good that they visually are distinct now.
I would like to see more cues from his DKC3 design. I know, like, he's already built off that with, like, the shirt and the shorts, but it'd be cool, like, if they leaned more towards his mechanical side, like in DKC3, like bringing back the boots and all that stuff. Probably for, like, future titles, like he's helping out, like making mechanics and all that stuff for the Kongs. I think it'd be really cool.
I want him to have underwear that says "Home of the Whopper" on it. I think Funky would wear that, and just for the laughs, he, like, lowers his shades and he winks, and yeah, you know what's up.
I just visualized all that in real time, and the result of that was phenomenal in my head. So please keep talking with these ideas of fucking God.
And yeah, Traveler in the live stream says Espresso, Ellie, and Radley. They didn't get fossils, although Espresso and Radley were referenced quite a bit. So, like, Radley deserves it because Radley is, as we've already established on the Kongversation and elsewhere on DK Vine, my DKU Lore Tour video, Radley is inexplicably beloved by the denizens of this universe. So get Radley as a statue, but I think Ellie does. Yeah, just, like, keep this going for 5 years. I don't care. Like, we just get everybody in there. I don't care if it's too many statues and it crashes the game. We basically need the equivalent of the DK Vine character artwork gallery on Donkey Kong Island at this point. And I was really disappointed that Wrinkly's grave wasn't in the DLC, so maybe a Wrinkly statue too.
Yeah, Espresso was in Bananza. He's the one that caused, like, the whole the Donkey Kong Racing accident that caused, like, the ostrich layer. They all fell into the sinkhole. That's why Donkey Kong Racing didn't happen in canon.
Sure. Look, we do see one of Espresso's sneakers in the mines on Donkey Kong Island, so I think Espresso is still kicking about somewhere. Oh yeah, get Minogue, get Mbazzy, get Beardy, get some of the racing ostriches. Like, we need a couple waves of just the GBA exclusive characters, like the GBA remake trilogy characters, and Bachelor, Kerosene, Minogue, everybody's favorites.
Ooh, what about some DK64 in there? We got King K Cutout, Dogadon, Armadillo. Like, that'd be a cool pack.
We already have a base army, so yeah, let's expand outwards and let's get Puff Toss. I don't know.
That'd be good. Yeah, they could go forever. They could do this forever if they wanted to. Like, there's so many characters could pull from. They could just keep going, like, Emerald Rush support for like 10 years. That'll be like our Donkey Kong content.
Effectively, we've stopped the podcast and we are just listing Donkey Kong characters now. That's all this is. Hey, do you remember this character? Do you remember the caterpillar in Donkey Kong 64? Do you remember the big robot eyeball in the factory in Returns? You remember that?
He's back in statue form.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Courtney says, I would shit if we got a Don or Madrak statue. Well, I hope you shit before that because it's not good to be constipated for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's play our final call. And then I said we do have a comment I have to read after that. So we're not quite done yet. Just like Bananza is not quite done until we get every single character in statue form.
Hey, Hyle and Sxips. This is Emerald Topaz. Fitting username for the Emerald Rush episode, I suppose. I think Emerald Rush is a really weird addition to Bananza and is not what I would have expected for DLC, but I don't think that's a bad thing. The mode's really fun. It kind of rules. And even though it's very different from the base game, it's kind of the perfect addition. it's so endlessly addicting and requires you to learn all the digging mechanics and take advantage of like learning the locations of everything that it kind of encourages the exploration the game's built around. The fast-paced, arcadey nature of it really reminds me of Jungle Beat too, which is really fun, and I like it quite a bit. Speaking of Jungle Beat, the events are also really fun. They encourage a lot of trial and error, like memorization, sort of puzzle solving to figure out what perks are needed to complete them, and it's just nice to have something new to do in the game every month or so. And of course the statues are awesome. The fact that the Jungle Beat Kongs were the third event is crazy. Everything is on the table. They're celebrating the entire series history, which I just love to see. I never really thought I'd be so excited to hear Lord Frederick is coming back in any way. But it's nice to know nothing's going to be just forgotten about. Yeah, that's about my thoughts. Take care of you guys. See ya.
Well, thank you so much for the call, and you're in the chat too. Hey, how about that? Yeah, again, I'm just kind of repeating myself here, but I was not looking forward to Emerald Rush. I was more excited about the DK Island exploration, and I was like, well, Emerald Rush will be what it is, but it works. It works surprisingly well with Bonanza. What a versatile format Bonanza is proving to be.
Yeah, like you said, everything has just been on the table. I feel like we've passed this point where, we don't have to, worry about, oh, they'll never acknowledge this again. Or, they'll just, pick out certain things to, represent the brand. It just feels like, yep, they could reference that, and there's no issue. They'll go crazy with it. It
really does feel like the way it did in the 90s, and I know I'm aging myself. I know I'm dating myself every time I say back in the 90s. Let me tell you how things were done for the Donkey Kong series. But there was a certain joy in learning about a new Donkey Kong game and then speculating which character's coming back for this, who's going to be in the cast for this one, who are they rotating out, who are they bringing in, what new characters are we going to get. And it never really felt like, oh no, this character isn't in it. Now they're gone forever, or I'm going to have to wait half a lifetime to see them again. It's like, okay, yeah, Candy's not in this one. Cool. Here's Wrinkly. Love it. You're pushing Rambi out of this one, and there's an elephant instead. Awesome. Can't wait to meet her. And I feel like we're back to that, and I feel like fans are so accepting of all the new stuff again in a way that I have not seen or experienced since that period in time. Of course, there's always fans who are able to rise above it, even longtime fans, and say, I don't care. I don't care who's back. I don't care what it's referencing. I don't care how much of the history is acknowledged. I just want a fun experience, and that's good enough for me. I wish I was that strong. I wish I was. Now, to be fair, I absolutely adored Returns and Tropical Freeze when they came out, despite latter-day criticisms I might have for, Guard the Swordfish or, whatever. But looking at the way fans of all eras are taking to Void or Poppy or Grumpy or the Fractones, I never thought I would see it. It's so weird to see people be optimistic and happy, and in an era where people are so hard to please and people are so quick to turn on a franchise or a series that they previously enjoyed. It's so astounding that Bonanza is able to stick the landing and really, for the most part, bring in fans of every era.
Yeah, like you say, it's all harmony. That's what it is.
All right. Well, we've got one comment. This was left on the DK Vine forum from Gunno. And Gunno says, "Hey there, Hyle and Sxips. I was hoping to talk about the Emerald Rush DLC. So I've already pondered this openly on the forum, but could the concept and gameplay seen in Emerald Rush be utilized for a proper, full-on spin-off? While I am fully aware that this was made completely with Bananza in mind, I do think the gameplay really suits DK more than I ever expected it to. And I personally think that, should they ever start making spin-off games for DK again in the future, this type of gameplay really could be fun to explore further in a spin-off title. So if they were to do that, what do you two think should be added that isn't already present in this DLC? That's a great comment, Gunno, and, I haven't considered that, and I am considering it now. You've incepted the idea into my brain, and now I think, it's fully possible. If Emerald Rush has player retention, if people do take to it and play it, and, they have numbers there like, hey, there's something here, let's make this a spin-off, because I do believe, and this isn't based on any insider information, like Dave Throat didn't come to me in the middle of the night through my window to give me this on a piece of paper. None of that. This is just intuition. This is just me doing this for as long as I have. I do think they are intending to have Donkey Kong spin-offs in the future. Like, not to the extent that Mario does. Don't get crazy. When I say spin-offs, mind you, I'm talking about side games. That's the nomenclature I would use, side games. Like, for me, a spin-off is something where you just take a character and give them their own franchise. Side game is games that aren't part of the core lineage, that aren't the main games. Like, King of Swing is a side game. Jungle Climber is a side game. Jungle Beat is a mainline Donkey Kong game. But I think we're going to get those side games again. I do. I think Nintendo is committed to the brand and the IP, and I think there's going to have to be product on the shelves to ride the waves of things like the Donkey Kong movie. And I do think we are going to get a new Donkey Kong Country style game as the next mainline entry in the series. But I think side games are definitely on the table. Now, I think Emerald Rush absolutely would be good for that. Now, you're going to have to wait a long while. You're going to have to wait until the events are done in Bananza. And, in fact, probably you want to wait till Bananza's in the rearview mirror. But, 10 years from now, I could see them just making Emerald Rush its own game unto itself. And it would be, I think, ripe, or in this case, unripened territory for Donkey Kong to claim as his own. It's not something Mario's doing. It's not something that would be taken away from other existing Nintendo IP or series. So, absolutely. Now, what could they add that's not already in this DLC? That's beyond my pay grade. I can't talk about that. That's something that maybe Andrew or Jeff has so many good ideas about games. And what you could do with game. He can pitch you a video game in an elevator, and you would greenlight it if you had the rights. So I will say though that I think Emerald Rush could be expanded by building the entire game around it, as opposed to retrofitting pre-existing worlds for Emerald Rush.
I feel like what you could do with Emerald Rush is that you can make it you can make it like a 4v4 type thing, where basically you're collecting. There's different type of Kongs have different type of stats and all that stuff. You could have support, those games you see now that are all team based. You could definitely do something out of it, collecting all emeralds and stuff. You could do something with that,
like a multiplayer game, yeah. And you could do 4 players competing against each other, or 2 teams of 2 going at it, and that would be fun, actually. Jesus Christ. Sorry for invoking him on his birthday, but that is a great idea. I mean, again, I can only think in terms of I really want Bazaar Bear to come back and say, I was Bear. That's the extent of my good ideas, and they're not good ideas. They're dumb ideas, but that is exactly what an Emerald Rush standalone game would be, and I am all for that.
Yeah, you could have say you have Diddy playable, and he has to you could use his rocket barrel to shoot down different terrain. You could use a lot of ideas with the Kongs, have Cranky fly around with his cane or something. Do some fun ideas with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could have. I'm tired. I was like, oh, what jokes haven't I gotten to? No, I've already talked about nipples on this episode. It's whatever. It's fine. It's Tip Top Sweet. No, I can't make that joke. Tip Top wouldn't be in it. Fuck.
K-Rool will be really fun to see, like in Emerald Rush, like him sucking up stuff with the blunderbuss, like with all his machinery, like the way to destroy terrain to collect things.
Like an elephant bonanza, but with a gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So wrapping it all up, it's never really wrapped up, at least for the foreseeable future, because Emerald Rush, it really is serving as the extension of Bonanza's hype, and it's serving as a bridge across 2026 towards Donkey Kong's future. So, so far we've had the events Chip Fever in October, and that gave us the Engard and the Kong Bananza statue. We had So Strong It's Funny in November with Chunky Kong and Lanky Kong. And then, as we're recording this, we are right in the middle of the Dig the Beat event for December with Ninja Kong and Ghastly King statues. January will bring us an event in Freezer Layer with a chance to unlock a Tux statue from Tropical Freeze and a Lord Frederick statue as well. And again, we've talked about the statues ad nauseum now. It's ridiculous. We haven't even gotten to the second Bonanza form yet. It seems like this will go for at least a year. But it really is, I think, keeping Bonanza in the mouths of the fans in a way that, in the past, this game would have already receded, unless you had the hardcore fanatics who just can't let it go, like me. You would, have most Switch 2 players having moved on to the next thing already. And they have. I mean, you are playing Kirby, you're ricking it up, but you're still coming back to Bonanza for the Emerald Rush events. And I think that, we got all the hardcore Donkey Kong geeks like us sitting around speculating which characters from the franchise's legacy are coming next. And it is the catnip, the Cat O' Nine Tails nip, maybe even, that's right up this fandom's alley. It is a particular thing about this fandom. And I don't know if it's just this shared hive mind that we all share, if we're all just cut from the same cloth, or if it's just some of the online fans rubbing off on some of the other fans. But we are all about characters. We are all about that aspect in particular. And it feels like the team behind Emerald Rush, they know us. They get us. And, after January, we will have statues of King K. Rool, who's already got so many statues in the base game, or in the base DLC. It's kind of ridiculous. Too many, probably one too many, which sounds silly to complain about after all of the hemming and hawing about, do you think K. Rool's going to be in it? Oh. And now it's like, too many statues. Boo. But whatever. We have Void Kong, we have Ghastly King, and we'll have Lord Frederick. And like I said, Tiki Tong, yeah, we're going to get Tiki Tong at some point. He's in the theme park. You're not going to leave Tiki Tong behind. And we probably won't get Wizpig unless Nintendo and Rare come up with a wonderful bargain, maybe in exchange for them using the Donkey Kong Land music and Conker's Pocket Tales on the Evercade. It's like, Nintendo's like, oh, I see you did that. And Rare's like, oh, here's Wizpig. Use Wizpig statue. And they're like, thanks. Yoink. In my head, that's exactly how it would go verbatim. No added words, no lawyers needed. But it really does, again, harmony, put the generations of fans who used to argue all the time about the cast and which characters were more important. So all of that's in the past now. It's all in the dust. Everything is equally important. It's exactly how we've always wanted it. And Emerald Rush will get us to the next Donkey Kong game. Be that Donkey Kong Country, be that Donkey Kong Croquet, be that Donkey Kong Country Barrel Maze 2, the Mezzanine. I don't know. But we won't have long to wait, and we're going to be entering... I think the Donkey Kong movie will be officially announced around the time of the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And I think that from there, we are going to be just in uncharted territory, like hype for this series that has not been experienced even in the heights of Donkey Kong Country Mania.
I know if you talked about this before with the Mario spin-off stuff, but I really think before the DK movie, I do think the DK movie is going to be teased at the end of Galaxy. I think they're going to tease that and segue into that. But I think in 2026 we're going to see a bit of like DK content in some way. I really think, like you said, they could just do what they did back in the 90s and have more of Donkey Kong separated from like having any of his characters appear in Mario spin-offs, like how it was like in the N64 era before the buyout. But I really think we will see probably, at the very least, Diddy will show up more frequently than he's been on and off like this past few decades or the past few years. And I really also think we might see Dixie and even K. Rool show up in these spin-offs at some point.
Here's the thing. I think, like, obviously you're never going to get the pee out of that pool. You're never going to completely disentangle Donkey Kong characters from showing up in those Mario side games. But I do think they're going to be a little bit more lower C conservative about the usage of them, if there's a possibility that they could do something similar with the Donkey Kong cast. For example, I do think there's something in there for the Rambi Rumble, something in there for the Donkey Kong Racing concept. The Diddy Kong Racing IP is owned by Nintendo. The name itself is owned by Nintendo. So it's like, if they're going to do a Donkey Kong Racing style game, how many Donkey Kong characters do they want to put in Mario Kart? I don't know. I'm not saying they're not going to put Diddy in Mario Kart World. I think that would be kind of ridiculous if they withheld. But, you see Mario Tennis Fever, they're being very careful about it. We'll see. We'll see. But I do think Donkey Kong side games being a possibility again definitely makes them a little bit more hesitant about who is going to appear in what Mario side game. So, Courtney in the live stream, before we end, points out something I haven't even caught yet. She says, if you run out of dialogue with one of the squawky talkies in another layer, DK will think, poor squawks, all confused. Ha! Love it. But, I both don't have anything else to say about Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I will have plenty more to say about Donkey Kong Bonanza. It never ends, but for now, it must. So I want to once again thank all of my co-hosts throughout this Donkey Kong Bonanza adventure this year. I want to thank Dustin. I want to thank Mitchell, Matt, Malik, Freezer, Jeff, Gibbon, David, Adam, Cameron, Joy, Pierre, Andrew, Josh, Courtney, Just Andre, Miles, and you, Sxips. Thank you.
It means a lot. I really appreciate you having me on, especially for the finale too. It's just been like such a wild ride throughout this April into now. It's been such a great experience. I haven't felt in a long time in any fandom.
Yeah, like I said, this year was mostly terrible. And the fact that we had such a shining light to get us through it, we were uniquely privileged in that regard. And finally, I want to thank everyone who has listened, from those who have been in our audience for years now, all the way to those of you who just discovered the podcast this year. Now, the conversation isn't done with 2025 quite yet, but this will be the last time we talk about Bonanza. And I am so tired. And I might just sleep deep underground for a few weeks once 2025 is over to restore my Banandium energies because I have spent myself talking about this game.
It's okay, because next year you could start off the year with
the Mario Party 2 Spotlight.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.